The story begins with pure terror. Screams echo through the cold halls as the crew realizes nobody is getting off this ship alive. They shout to seal the door, praying it will block the monster behind them. Outside the window, bloody hands smear across the glass as people desperately claw to escape. Their final cries ring through the corridor. But in the void of space, no one is coming to save them. The heavy silence between screams is suffocating. Their voices break as the oxygen runs thin. Every breath gets weaker. Panic rattles the entire ship. Inside, a bizarre network of pulsing tentacles and vines spreads like a plague, slowly swallowing every single room. A lone soldier steps into the slimy growth, scanning the darkness for movement. Suddenly, the intercom crackles, ordering all remaining units to gather. In the captain's quarters, the squad moves through the shadows, weapons raised, completely aware that some of them are walking to their deaths. One guy barks into his radio, telling the crew to pull together. Another soldier questions the captain's strategy, but the first one snaps back. It must be done to save what is left of them. He leaves no room for debate. That is a direct order. Surprisingly, the crew nods in agreement, finding a weird sense of unity in his stern words. It is not a guarantee they will live, but it gives them enough courage to face the nightmare. If they die fighting. Then, a soldier hears a strange noise echoing from the next room. No gunfire, no explosions, just a weak voice coughing and begging for help. Being way too curious for his own good, he creeps closer to look inside. What he finds makes his blood run cold. A massive pile of corpses is stacked high, meaning the people they came to rescue are already dead. His partner gags in pure disgust, but the leader keeps his composure. He stays at the door to keep watch, telling the others to search the pile before time is up. The muffled voice calls out again, asking if anyone is out there. It begs to be pulled from beneath the bodies. The soldier yells back, his voice full of determination, promising to get them out, but he has no clue how terrifying the truth actually is. Trust me, things are about to get incredibly messy when he finally locates the survivor. Any hope completely shatters. Underneath the flesh is not a person. It is a grotesque, terrifying beast. It whimpers that it hurts, but its aura is dripping with pure evil. The soldier stands frozen, trying to process this alien nightmare. With terrifying ease, the creature tosses human limbs aside to clear a path for itself. It makes a pitiful sound, pretending to be in pain, but it is just malice in the flesh. The soldier screams to warn his squad, but before he can react, the beast leaps from the bodies and slams a clawed hand over his face. Within seconds, his body is ripped apart from the inside, bones snapping, twisting unnaturally. It shreds right through him, tearing flesh and enjoying every single bite. The alien looks up with a sick, twisted smile that guarantees the rest are next. Total chaos. Gunfire fills the room, bullets tearing through the air, but the creature is way too fast. It dodges every shot, dancing through the storm of lead as if mocking their desperate struggle. Slashing its own arm, the alien rips its flesh open to reveal a glowing green acid. It steps forward and flings the liquid directly at the men. The acid splashes, and one soldier's arm starts sizzling and melting on contact. The green glow burns through his skin, spreading to his face. His horrific scream cuts through the room. His teammate rushes over, telling him to stay strong as he reaches for a medkit. But before he can even grab a syringe, a sudden blow strikes him down from behind. He slams into the floor, ears ringing with the sounds of screaming and gunfire. He can only watch in absolute terror as his friend is eaten alive, piece by piece. Sickened but fueled by sheer rage, he pulls an explosive from his belt. He is ready to take the monster down with him, but before he can pull the pin, the beast grabs his wrist, stopping him dead in his tracks. The monster hisses, but not at him. Instead, it looks down at a bizarre pink blob sitting on its shoulder. Slime slides off like liquid, dripping right onto the soldier's head. It wraps around his face instantly, muffling his desperate screams as he thrashes around wildly. The sounds are muffled, broken, and then there is only silence. Meanwhile, the main monster does not waste any time. It tears through the rest of the corpse like it has been starving for a week, ripping him apart. The pink blob finishes swallowing its own share, then bounces happily back up onto the beast's shoulder. The little monster even lets out a tiny burp. They exchange a few low hisses, acting almost like friends gossiping about how good the food tasted. The little pink blob basically purrs with satisfaction, leaving nothing behind but a clean pile of bones on the floor. Now the beast spots a problem. A heavy security gate is locked shut. He tries scanning a severed hand, but the system denies access. Seeing this, the little blob fetches a stray grenade from the floor and hands it over, thinking fast. The monster hurls it at the door, blowing it wide open. It creeps forward, hungry for more. Up ahead, more survivors shriek. One guy realizes his time is up right before. The beast pounces and snaps his neck. Now get this, our main character is actually this alien. He has to feed, survive, and constantly evolve, showing his prey absolutely no mercy. Stranded in the cold cargo bay of a spaceship, he explains that he somehow woke up inside the body of this terrifying predator. Inside a brutal sci-fi survival game. This game, called Space Survival, plays like a role-playing game where you pick a cosmic beast and try to survive, explore, and adapt. Players can become metallic predators ripping through starships, or massive mutant beasts crushing whole planets. Some players even take the role of a massive hive mind, leading swarms to conquer entire solar systems. Our main character has tried almost every single monster class, but out of all those options, he only has one absolute favorite. Back in the real world, he used to scroll through the game database, staring at his top choice, the unidentified aggressive space morph. Or simply the morph. It looks a lot like the classic sci-fi monsters we all know, but with a terrifying twist. It grows stronger by absorbing its victim's genetic code. This makes it the ultimate bioweapon. While the morph sounds incredibly overpowered on paper, playing as one in the actual game is a total nightmare. You cannot team up with anyone, and since you cannot speak, diplomacy is completely out of the question. Because of this, players usually rank them as the absolute weakest and least popular class in the game. It takes a serious amount of patience to master. Back in reality, we see one of these beasts lying defeated on the floor. Barely past its infant stage, small, weak, and nowhere near its true power, it looks less like an apex predator and more like an endangered species. Yet the reason this underdog became our hero's favorite is simple. It is all about raw evolution, driven entirely by the player's choices and sheer willpower. With enough patience, he can grow from the weakest organism into an unstoppable cosmic force. That sheer potential is what drew him here. But for now, this alien morph remains locked in his fragile, earliest stage. Vulnerable and incomplete, the status screen reveals terrible stats, proving his immediate goal. He must endure simply to survive. The tiny hatchling exhales a weary breath. The struggle has barely started, yet he already questions this brutal path. It is the high cost of choosing such a difficult race. There is no turning back. Suddenly, he flops over. He wriggles on the floor as his body begins to twist. The shedding process starts, a painful, agonizing sight, but once the skin peels away, a much worse threat strikes: hunger. The sharp pain warns him that he needs food immediately or his life ends right here. Around him, the cargo hold hums with indifferent machinery, running as if nothing is wrong. The sleek architecture suggests this ship belongs to a major galactic faction like Megacob or the Star Union. If they spot him, they will instantly vaporize him. Survival means remaining hidden. He activates his super sense, an internal scanning ability to search the cargo bay for food. The scan pings a massive nearby crate. Naturally, the container is locked tight with a passcode. But whoever locked this cargo did not care about security. He enters 1234. Surprised by this galactic civilization's laziness, the container clicks open to reveal energy bars. He devours the bars immediately. They taste absolutely terrible, but at least they dull the agonizing hunger. Then, without warning, a stray cockroach skitters across the floor. Predator instincts flare up. The morph snatches the insect, crushing it instantly. The moment he swallows, his internal system flashes a notification. A holographic window confirms the predation effect is active. He has successfully acquired the wing gene essence. Now, he possesses the biological properties of insect wings. The morph feels incredibly lucky. In truth, this is a highly unusual genetic jackpot. Gaining functional wings from a common pest is rare, but in this harsh universe, even tiny mutations can eventually evolve into immense power. Genetic essences are the foundation of his growth. The more genetic information he absorbs, the stronger he becomes. The hatchling stares at the glowing essence in his system screen, a flash of pride crossing his strange face. He confirms the evolution. Instantly, his flesh twists. From his back, a pair of insect-like wings burst outward. They twitch and flutter weakly, resisting his clumsy control at first. With some effort, the wings buzz to life, lifting him awkwardly off the ground. Energized by this, he greedily finishes the rations, realizing how fast his new body burns through fuel. Once the food is gone, he spots dozens of roaches crawling nearby. A plan forms. To fully develop his wings, he needs more raw materials. Without hesitation, he targets the pests. He hunts the insects, eating them one by one. Even after devouring 20 roaches, the hunger remains. Still, there is some benefit. The taste is decent, almost familiar. He checks his stats. The hatchling discovers a new passive trait, chitin shell. This increases his defense as he grows, forming a natural armor. It is highly useful, but slow to develop. Frustration mounts. If he does not find stats to boost his vitality soon, he will remain weak, struggling from one meal to the next. High vitality is rare. It reduces energy consumption, keeping hunger at bay. Most insects have this trait naturally, which means he needs to hunt way more cockroaches. He keeps moving, leaping between crates with his wings buzzing unevenly. From above, he spots 2 targets. He dives down, grabs one mid-run, and devours it. The second roach bolts. He refuses to let his dinner escape. Charging forward, he slams headfirst into a steel wall. The bug slips into a tiny, unreachable crack. Annoyed, the hatchling jams his scorpion tail into the crevice, spearing the bug to eat it. The system's screen flashes. Predation active. He has acquired the tough life force gene essence. This grants him the extreme vitality of a cockroach. He absorbs it immediately. His body hardens, his muscles tighten, and he feels himself becoming a true monster. Glancing around the hold, he realizes the humans running this ship are his ultimate enemies. Suddenly, the metal walls vibrate and heavy footsteps echo nearby. Time is running out. If he wants to survive, he must evolve and escape now. Honestly, you have to admire his sheer grit. This is only the beginning of his escape. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned. The alien pauses, calculating his next move. His mind is basic, but pure survival instinct drives him toward a specific destination. Crawling through the vents, he targets the reactor cooling chamber. It is a critical zone, meaning humans rarely linger there. Perfect. Nobody realizes that danger is moving right above them. If needed, he can rupture the chamber to escape during the chaos. The creature crawls forward until massive fans suddenly roar to life. A violent gust of wind hits hard. The force nearly rips him from the wall, threatening to shred him against the spinning blades. Struggling for grip, he manages to loosen a metal grate just in time. Damaging the ventilation would trigger alarms, so he must pass undetected. He freezes, relying entirely on his senses. The air smells of rust and dust. The machinery hums through his tiny frame. He detects a slight friction in the fan joint, slowing each rotation. Instinct whispers that the moment has come. He lunges. He squeezes between the spinning blades. The very tip of his tail is sliced off, but his body slips through. He tumbles onto the deck, landing hard before scurrying deeper. Along the way, he snatches and devours a spider, doing whatever it takes to survive. Finally, the creature reaches the duct end. Below, muffled human voices echo through the vents. Crew members are discussing experiment number 26, calling it another failure. One grumbles that the commander will be furious, while the other laughs it off, tired from their shift. They finally leave. The alien narrows his eyes. This is no ordinary cargo ship. It hides a secret laboratory. The design points directly to Megacob. They are a powerful corporate empire spread across the solar system, where absolute greed dictates everything. While most factions remain neutral, Megacob is notoriously dark. They biologically engineer their own workers to ensure obedience. They are ruthless, efficient, and control everything. The alien pries open the vent cover and flutters out on his fragile wings, scanning the surroundings to identify the exact research being conducted here. If this is a mutant research station, he could acquire a formidable combat form. If it belongs to the psychic cult faction, he could unlock terrifying mental abilities. Developing psychic powers is tempting, but reaching that level so early is nearly impossible. Suddenly, a faint voice breaks the silence. A desperate plea for help. The alien freezes in caution. He creeps forward, peeks around a corner, and spots the source of the sound. His strange journey is about to get incredibly complicated. The voice comes from a pod containing a weird pink blob tangled in wires, desperately begging for help. It looks less like a science lab and more like a hostage situation. The alien squints, realizing this helpless prisoner is a bubble amoeba. Its main trait is oxygen conservation, completely useless for a predator like him. Still, the curious creature decides to use his super sense. He probes the room for clues. Instantly, his senses pick up a faint electrical current buzzing from the blob. Could this be the human's secret experiment? For once, his gut feeling is dead on. His radar shows that the whole setup will shut down if he just slams that giant, glowing green button. He smashes it, the heavy machine sputters, whirs, and finally dies. The freed blob immediately bounces with joy, squealing its thanks. Our bug actually wishes it well. It is pretty funny since he usually gobbles down every insect in sight, but sudden footsteps echo down the hall. Terrified, he quickly scrambles into the shadows to hide. The doors hiss open. In struts a sharp-eyed woman holding a cat, trailed by a researcher who looks ready to wet himself. She wastes zero time getting straight to business. She demands an update on Experiment 26, her voice cold as ice. The poor guy shakes like he is about to be deleted from existence, stuttering out excuses. He begs for just a bit more time for the subject to respond. Her gaze hardens. She reminds him that time is money, and she needs solid results before corporate arrives. If he fails, his position is gone. The guy crumbles instantly, practically weeping and begging her not to throw him to the wolves. He knows his career is hanging by a thread. The woman softens her tone, though her eyes remain deadly cold. Addressing him as senior researcher Mr. Wei, she smoothly explains that she really does not want this project to fail. She claims she has incredibly high expectations, which is just corporate speak for a knife to the back. Then she casually strolls over to the pink amoeba like she owns the station. She promises that delivering the aptitude from Experiment 26 will guarantee his promotion to chief researcher. Naturally, the desperate man bites the bait immediately. She even sweetens the deal, hinting that if the project goes well, corporate on Mars might take interest. You can practically hear his career flashing before his eyes. Sweating buckets, the researcher hesitates before bringing up a chemical called sonium. The woman raises an eyebrow, completely unfamiliar with it. He explains it is a powerful stimulant. Developed by the Star Union, but never tested in this facility. Before he can finish, she cuts him off, stating they have already tried everything else anyway. She demands he inject it immediately. Mr. Wei, terrified of the risk, warns her that if the creature fails to process the neutralizer, the consequences could be disastrous. But his warning falls on deaf ears. Up in the dark vents, our alien bug listens closely, absorbing every detail. The ruthless woman does not care about safety. She barks that this is a critical mission, forcing Mr. Wei to scramble. He starts with a tiny 0.01 milligram dose, and the amoeba instantly twitches. As he increases the dosage step by step, the blob shakes violently, but just as the researcher thinks about stopping, the woman grins and demands the maximum amount. Impatient, she hits the manual override herself, pumping the entire vial into the creature. The heavy overdose hits like a truck, making the poor blob scream in absolute agony. But the cold-hearted lady just grins. Up in the vents, even the alien starts sweating from guilt. Imagine that, a monster who eats roaches raw suddenly finding a conscience. Unfortunately, he is still a major coward, so he does nothing. The painful cries grow fainter until the amoeba goes completely silent, its vibrant pink body turning ghostly white. It twitches weakly. The woman finds this highly amusing and orders more tests on Subject 26, treating this horror show like round one. She tells him to report any updates. Mr. Wei bows so low he might as well be begging for his life. As she turns to leave, her gaze drifts right toward the alien's hiding spot, eyes narrowing. Did she feel something? It is a tense moment, but our bug is already gone, proving his cowardice is his best defense. She shrugs it off and finally leaves the room. Safe in the shadows, the alien is deeply shaken. Did that creature actually cry out to him? The thought makes his shell crawl. He hates it, yet he makes a choice. That cruel woman will pay with her life very soon. He vows to hunt her down for what she did to the blob, but given his pathetic track record, this promise sounds more like a punchline than a threat. He crawls over to the main reactor, dripping green slime onto the pipes. The liquid quickly spreads, forming a vast network. That connects the entire ship. With his radar fully online, every single footstep, whisper, and vibration on board is now his to hear. Intel is everything. Now he has the ultimate surveillance web. After 4 days as a morph, his nest is finally done. To celebrate, he travels back and forth through the cargo hold. gorging himself on spiders and cockroaches. But he is not just snacking. He is carefully tracking his main target, mapping out her incredibly tight schedule. Meet Kisaragi Yugjun, the brilliant and dangerous chief scientist. She is the biggest hurdle to his survival. A quick flashback reveals that just 2 days ago, an experimental beast broke out and caused massive panic. Everyone lost their minds except Kisaragi. Calm and calculated, she built a specialized tracker in just 2 hours and dragged it right back to her lab. If our bug had been the runaway, she would have bagged him instantly. The thought makes him sweat under his shell. Back in the present, he keeps eyes on her from the vents. Suddenly, Kisaragi stops dead in her tracks, looking up as if she feels a presence. Her escort asks if everything is fine, but she tells them to keep moving. He panics, tail twitching. Can she actually feel his gaze? Her instincts are terrifyingly sharp. Could she possess psychic powers like telekinesis or mind control? Those are usually restricted to elite space elves, but some humans have them. If Kisaragi has even a fraction of that gift, he is in serious trouble. She is intelligent, merciless, and always flanked by heavily armed guards. How is he supposed to get close to her? Just then, a blue system window flashes with a new skill, paralyzing venom. A wicked grin spreads across his face. One drop can knock an adult flat for 5 minutes. Plenty of time to strike, but the real issue is getting her alone. She is always surrounded. He quickly stuffs another energy bar into his mouth to think things through. Creeping back to the lab, he peers at the bubble amoeba. The little blob brightens up immediately, and the alien notes that it looks much healthier today. He slides an energy bar down the feeding hatch. The blob happily gobbles it up like an excited kid. Unfortunately, the creature has absolutely zero combat strength. It is simply too weak to be of any help. But then, a brilliant idea strikes. He remembers Kisaraga's beloved pet cat, the only thing she actually cares about. It stays alone in her quarters all day, completely unguarded, a perfect, exploitable weakness. Out of options, he decides on a simple plan: steal the pet. He will bait Kisaragi with it, even if he has no idea what to do next. Still, he thinks this is absolute genius, target locked on a fluffy hostage. The spoiled cat stretches and lets out a lazy meow. Watching from the vent, the alien eyes his target. Its name is Kaisar, a very pampered little feline. The pampered cat rolls around, his soft belly moving with every lazy twist. It is clear that Kisaragi treats him with extreme care. The watching alien mutters that anyone pampering a pet this much must be someone incredibly important. To him, Kaiser does not look like a threat at all. Still, the beast knows a direct attack right now is too risky. He activates super sense to scan the room. From the outside, the vent looks perfectly normal, but through his enhanced vision, he sees the deadly trap. Hidden security lasers crisscross the entire room. A single wrong move and the AI will trigger the alarms. The alien taps his tail against the metal in frustration, trying to come up with a plan. Suddenly, Kaiser's ears perk up. The cat springs toward the vent, scratching and meowing at the metal grill. The alien freezes in horror as heavily armed soldiers rush in, their weapons fully charged, but seeing the spoiled cat clawing the vent again, they just sigh and roll their eyes. The pet does this constantly, making them chase ghosts. A few guards even mutter they should just get rid of the damn cat. Meanwhile, the alien backs away into the shadows, trembling in absolute panic. A tiny mistake almost cost him everything. But then, a brilliant idea strikes him. He can use this annoying cat's erratic behavior to fool the humans. A hyperactive pet and arrogant guards who overlook it are the perfect recipe for a distraction. For once, he actually has a solid plan. Sometime later, Kaiser is lounging around once more, playing lazy. Suddenly, he hears a strange rustling. His ears twitch. He strolls over and spots a cockroach wriggling inside. The cat's eyes lock onto his prey as he taps the metal grill. Bars clatter loose and crash down, immediately triggering the alarm. Siren blares echo throughout the ship, but the guards outside just groan. They complain that it's just the dumb cat playing around again. They are sick of checking on him, so they completely ignore the warning. It is their costliest mistake. Kaiser, fascinated by the scurrying bugs, crawls deep into the dark vents. He keeps squeezing through until he reaches the quiet cargo hold, meowing in curiosity. Another roach twitches right before him, and the cat crouches low, preparing to pounce. But suddenly, the shadows on the ceiling shift. The alien drops down, stinger first, stabbing the cat with lethal venom. Kaiser screeches, claws slashing wildly, but the poison paralyses him instantly. The cat collapses, body limp and eyes frozen in shock. The alien smiles, thoroughly satisfied. he devours the cat. His hunger finally fading after days of starvation. Kaiser is gone, turned into just another entry in the beast's food log. For the predator, this is the first step towards survival. Back in the corridors, Kisaragi storms down the hall like a walking hurricane. Terrified researchers scramble to get out of her path. Two nervous bodyguards follow close behind, desperately wishing they were anywhere else. She marches straight to the captain's table, slamming her hand down to demand answers. Her face is pale and trembling with sheer panic as she spits out the single question that has been keeping her awake. When exactly is she going to see her cat Kaiser? The captain tries to maintain his composure, quickly fumbling for a logical excuse. He begs her to be patient, claiming his men are searching and she should just give them a little more time. Kisaragi's eyes flare with raw fury. Before he can finish, she slams the table so hard the guards jump. 2 hours, she screams. It has already been 2 hours. Her voice climbs to a shriek, fueled by pure panic and anger. Kaiser has a strict feeding schedule, she yells, and if he hasn't eaten, something terrible must have happened to him. The captain remains calm, using a tone meant for hostage negotiations. He patiently explains that this is a completely sealed military ship, unless her pet somehow figured out how to unlock the door and escaped into open space. He is still on board, but his reasonable tone only enrages her. Kisaragi snaps, screaming at him to find her cat this instant. The captain maintains his neutral expression, promising her that they will find him soon. Inside, however, he is absolutely baffled. What is so damn special about a cat? Why is a high-ranking noble acting like the world is ending over a pet? If she lacked powerful family backing, he would have thrown her in a cell to cool off. Instead, he has to sit and watch her spiral. Kisaragi's panic deepens, and she suddenly demands to know about the guards responsible for watching the room. The captain explains they are currently locked in detention, but before he can finish, she barks an order that chills everyone to the bone. Execute them. The captain stares in utter shock, his calm completely shattered. Executing trained soldiers over a lost pet is madness. He tries to reason with her, explaining that executing his crew over a cat would destroy the entire ship's morale. But speaking logically is a major mistake. Kisaragi's eyes go wide, her temper exploding at his apparent lack of concern. Realizing his blunder, the captain quickly clears his throat to backtrack. He claims he did not mean it that way, insisting executions can only happen after a full investigation is complete. He was just being thorough. Kisaragi glares at him, her voice turning cold and sharp. She warns him that he seems to forget this crisis only happened because his useless soldiers failed at their duties. The captain bows his head, playing along, and humbly apologizes for the security breach. He promises to severely discipline the guard unit to ensure complete obedience in the future. Kisaragi is still not pacified. She spins around, her aura radiating pure hostility, and makes a final threat. She will return in exactly 2 hours. If they have not found Kaiser by then, she demands his immediate resignation. Her threat hangs heavy in the room as she walks out, her guards scrambling behind her. The captain sits in stunned silence. His entire military career is being held hostage, not by an invading army, but by a spoiled house pet that missed its dinner. He slams his fist on the table in fury, unable to contain his boiling anger. The loud crash echoes through the bridge, his face flushed red. High above them, hidden deep within the ventilation shaft, the alien watches the drama, silently shaking with uncontrollable laughter. The situation is incredibly satisfying. That precious cat isn't lost at all, he sneers to himself. He is already safely digesting in my stomach. The entire crew is panicking while their beloved pet is dissolving inside my gut. Shaking off the humor, he pulls up his blue status screen. He wants to check out his newest acquisition, a unique trait called Wild Instinct. He opens the description to read the details. The system's convergence ability works by fusing similar biological traits into something far superior, just like how combining a scorpion tail with toxic spikes created his lethal spike tail. He has used this fusion system so often that he knows most basic recipes by heart, but this time, the results leave him speechless. The system notification that appeared right after devouring Kaiser revealed a legendary combination that even his hardcore gaming knowledge had never encountered. He lost no time in activating it. Wild Instinct merged with his enhanced super senses, evolving into a new power called Predator Sensing. It is an incredible upgrade. The description explains that Predator Sensing allows him to feel approaching threats long before they strike. Curious to test his new ability, he tries to trigger it manually. But nothing dramatic happens. His awareness simply feels broader, sharper, and intensely focused. He realizes it must be a passive skill, something that only activates when real danger is imminent. For now, he will have to wait. He can experiment with it later as he continues to adapt. For the moment, his attention shifts back to Kisaragi. He is certain she is completely losing her mind, so he slides quietly through the ventilation shaft until he has a clear view of her office. Exactly as he expected, she is still slamming the table, her face warped with rage. She is usually high-strung, but this is on a completely different level. The missing pet is driving her crazy. The alien grins, thinking that she only shows any humanity toward the things she owns. Everything else is just garbage to her. Cruel people like her shatter completely the moment their possessions are taken. This fragile mindset is the perfect vulnerability he can exploit. He schemes quietly, watching his secondary goal take shape. He will drive a wedge between Kisaragi and her crew. The cracks are already starting to show. In truth, the guards always despised that cat. The pampered beast lived a life of absolute luxury, eating prime cuts of meat that the low-ranking soldiers could only dream of. There is nothing more insulting than watching a fat pet feast on steak while you survive on dry rations. A memory flashes of Kisaragi, smiling warmly as she hand-fed Kaiser those gourmet dishes. To her, it was just showing affection. To the working crew, it was a slap in the face. The alien knows that this resentment goes far deeper than this is about class, not just a missing pet. A noble flaunts her luxury through a cat while everyone else struggles. But now her shield is gone. The cat was a perfect scapegoat, a living excuse for the soldiers' frustrations. They could hate the pet freely without risking her wrath. With that shield gone, their anger has nowhere to go but inward. Worse, they have been running themselves ragged searching for a creature they absolutely despise. The alien wonders how much longer they will endure this, or if they would still sacrifice themselves for her. Like before, even more interesting, Kisaragi has lost something too. The disappearance of her precious cat happened because of her own guard's failure, a betrayal that burns deep. Even if they make up for it, that bond of trust is already broken. The alien smiles to himself. He didn't just steal her pet, he planted deep seeds of doubt between her and her men. One missing cat has sparked a storm that might shake the entire ship. Deep in the vents, the alien whispers a quiet thank you to the cat, letting out a low, unsettling laugh. He tells himself it is time to harvest Kisaragi, Eugene's genetic traits. That means stealing her powers and completely breaking her pride as he watches her lose all composure. The sight stirs something strange inside him, and he celebrates a plan that finally feels within reach. Suddenly, Kisaragi explodes with fury, storming through the lab and hitting controls in rapid succession. She unleashes raw electricity across the testing tanks, striking one poor organism after another. With an expression of pure rage and fear, she moves toward the pink bubble amoeba and inspects it with intense focus. The amoeba trembles under the harsh lights as she cranks up the stimulant dose again and again. Pain floods the creature, its cries echoing through the metal room. Kisaragi finally stops, looking entirely cold and detached. Watching from the shadows, the alien feels a brief flicker of guilt, but his full stomach quickly makes that feeling fade away. The weakened amoeba still manages to spot him, looking relieved to see a face that isn't holding a needle. The alien quietly turns away. Sympathy is useless here. What he wants to give the amoeba isn't comfort, but certain, deliberate revenge. Suddenly, Kisaragi storms back, demanding immediate answers and telling the captain his 2 hours are up. Captain Samuel keeps his composure, explaining the search is ongoing and asking her to wait. Kisaragi grinds her teeth and calls him Yusung Samuel, dropping his title to insult him. The captain sweats but keeps his voice steady, warning her to watch her tone since he is the commander. Kisaragi snaps that she can have him removed, but Samuel reminds her that even nobles aren't above ship protocol, threatening to detain her if she keeps disrupting operations. The room falls completely silent. Researchers desperately pretend not to notice the heavy tension. The alien watches from the vents, highly amused by the clash. This old grudge is obvious from the way they argue. Kisaragi scoffs, turns on her heel, and storms out with her guards. Suddenly, she stops mid-walk and announces she needs the restroom. One guard mentions needing it too. Still hidden, the alien senses a massive opportunity. Normally, a guard would accompany her. But the exhausted crew is getting sloppy, leaving Kisaragi completely alone. No security, no backup. Seriously, talk about the perfect setup for an ambush as the alien slides through the vents. Ready to strike, a dangerous surge of confidence builds in him. Peering into the bathroom, he sees Kisaragi leaning over the sink with her hands covering her face, completely consumed by anger. An absolute exhaustion. For a split second, he almost feels a flicker of pity, but the memory of her cruelty wipes it away. This is the moment he has been waiting for. He steadies his tail, primes his venom, and gets ready to strike. Quietly, he slips inside. He tells himself this will end her cruelty forever, repeating that he isn't afraid. Even though he clearly is, but his paralyzing venom is ready, his predator sense is sharp, and the image of that crying amoeba drives him forward. Revenge is finally within reach. He has already loosened the vent bars. Kisaragi splashes her face with cold water, trying to breathe through her shaking rage as she forces herself to calm down. The hatchling crawls down the wall behind her with quiet pride. He creeps closer as Kisaragi turns off the tap and sighs, thinking she is alone. The creature moves forward, bursting with confidence. Suddenly, Kisaragi flinches, sensing something wrong. In a flash, the alien strikes. His first lunge only clips her shoulder, missing by inches and sending him tumbling onto the floor. Kisaragi spins around and runs, but the creature is way too fast. He lunges again, burying his stinger right into her back. The brutal toxin floods her system instantly. She doubles over. Her knees buckling, gasping for air. Kisaragi collapses onto the cold tiles, paralyzed. Fear and disbelief paint her face as the alien crouches over her like a predator who just got lucky. He watches her panic, trying to guess what she is feeling right now. Terror at seeing a monster, fury at being hurt, or the fear of dying. None of it matters to him. In his primal alien mind, she is just another resource to be consumed. He gives her a smug farewell and moves in to feed, but not in some messy horror movie way. He feeds in a game-like way, absorbing her genetic code directly into his system. As her vital patterns translate into data inside his head, her genetic traits click into place. Suddenly, something in his core shifts, a blue notification blinks. Evolution conditions met, hatchling to youngling. Covered in the aftermath of his attack, he croaks out a proud victory screech as the changes settle deep into his bones. He can finally grow, but as his new form takes shape, a sudden flash of raw fear hits him. A vision rips through his mind of a guard pulling a trigger, leaving him dead on the floor. That imagined defeat hits harder than any physical poison. For the very first time, his cocky attitude completely vanishes. As cold panic crawls up his spine, it might just be in his head, but it completely ruins his victory. The alien freezes, his mind going blank for a long second. What was that? Could this be his predator sense showing him the future? The message is absolutely clear. Danger is coming. A guard is approaching, and his mind races as he decides what to do. Should he hide or run? Escape is impossible, there is no time, so he stands his ground. Creeping up the wall into the shadows, he waits in dead silence. Moments later, a guard walks in, his eyes widening as he sees Kisaragi lying motionless on the floor. While the soldier freezes in pure shock, the alien strikes, dropping straight from above. Onto the guard's back. With one swift jab of his stinger, the soldier collapses, dead before he even realizes what hit him. But there is no time to linger, more guards could arrive at any second. He climbs back to the vent, secures the metal bars, and slips inside. His mind races. Can they track him? Do they have sensors on this ship? To stay hidden, he moves in winding circles all the way back to his nest to lose any scent. Finally, he slips inside his safe haven and activates his predator sense. Scanning the surroundings, nothing. No footsteps, no tracking signals, no movement. He is safe for now. Looking at the glowing blue window, he hits the evolution option. He expects some kind of flash or painful transformation, but instead, a thick, dark slime starts coating his claws. It spreads rapidly, flowing over his skin until it covers him completely. The slime hardens into a pulsing cocoon. Inside, the alien feels his body dissolving and rearranging into something entirely new. He tries to move, but all physical control completely slips away as the cocoon seals shut. He can only wait while his old body breaks down to rebuild itself. Time slows to a crawl, filled only by the sound of dripping fluid. Faint tapping sounds echo from inside the cocoon, then a sharp crack. The shell splits wide open as the alien claws his way out, fluid dripping down his brand new form. He stands taller now, completely transformed. He is stronger. A thin mist curls through the nest as he flexes his new fingers, testing their raw power. With a deep breath, he lets out a chamber-shaking roar. Meanwhile, the captain gathers his team. The captain demands to know what killed the woman. One nervous crew member steps forward, explaining that, by the looks of things, she was taken out by a single, brutal strike to the neck. It almost looks like the killer used some kind of tiny saw, though they need a closer inspection to be sure. The captain presses further, asking if this means they need to run a full autopsy. The researcher hesitates, asking if the captain wants him to perform it, but he freezes mid-sentence when he sees the sheer despair written across the captain's face. Just looking at him makes the man break into a cold sweat. The captain sighs, holding his head and admitting he has no idea what to do. Trying to move things along, Captain Samuel turns to the head of security to ask about the manhunt. The chief reports that every single camera on the vessel has been checked, but nothing unusual popped up. He adds that the guard, who is the prime suspect, is currently locked in interrogation. The captain asks bluntly if the guard is their killer. The security chief shakes his head, admitting that based on the evidence, it is highly unlikely. Samuel tells him to bring back the results as soon as possible, then scans the rest of the room. He grimly reminds them of what happened in the lab not long ago, when a brilliant researcher dared to disobey an order. The punishment was horrific. His brain was physically ripped out and left floating inside a glass tank. As he speaks, the captain's voice grows heavy as he makes his point. If that is the price for simply refusing an order, then what do they think will happen to those blamed for killing a high-ranking noble? The grim implication hangs in the air, chilling enough to make everyone imagine their own head floating in a jar. Panic immediately explodes as fear grips the team. They need answers, and fast. Because if they fail, they will be the next ones fed to the grinder. One guy suggests lying and calling it an experimental accident, but another crew member snaps at him to think before speaking. With so many researchers on board, absolutely no one is going to buy that story. The crew leader smirks and mocks him, pointing out that this stupid plan is why he is still stuck in middle management. Next, the bald tech leader pipes up, suggesting they claim she was poisoned by food, and he even offers to take the fall. The others shut him down immediately, warning that if he is so eager to die, he can go do it alone without dragging the rest of them down. Voices rise, harsh insults fly, and the meeting is seconds away from turning into an all-out brawl. A calmer researcher slams the table, demanding quiet. The room freezes as he lays it out. They are currently near planet C8, which is Space Dog territory. The captain instantly catches his drift. They can pin the head researcher's murder on an ambush. The man nods, saying they can easily claim that the space dogs attacked with no time to save her. Samuel leans back, turning the plan over in his mind. The space dogs are notorious raiders, elite space combatants. Even Megacorp's best fleets suffer heavy losses against them. A flimsy research vessel stands absolutely no chance. Casualties are guaranteed when those pirates are involved. It is a brilliant cover story, but Samuel points out one major flaw. The crew's weapons do not match. That is when the same man smirks and casually mentions he has some under-the-table contacts. Samuel massages his temple. Of course, the most harmless-looking guy on the crew somehow has pirate connections. When Samuel asks for the price, the sheer number makes him grit his teeth. At least 1 million credits. The man argues it is fair. Even space pirates hesitate before targeting Kisaragi Eugene, so the risk is massive. Samuel finally gives in. He reluctantly hands Crisis Authority over to the manager, ending the meeting with a cold warning. Everything must go perfectly before sending them off. The security chief asks what they should do with the body. Samuel's eyes harden. They will preserve it and hand it over to the space dogs. No one touches it. Meanwhile, tucked away in his nest, our alien friend prepares his body for his next move, amused by the humans scrambling to cover their tracks. He feels a massive shift inside now that he has evolved into a youngling. Things are getting serious. Everything looks different. His old plan of hiding like a terrified little bug just is not going to cut it anymore. Before, the strategy was simple: stay low, dodge predators, and hope for survival. But now active hunting is just as crucial as basic survival. The sickening, wet slither of his movements sounds like a scene straight out of a horror movie. He has graduated from a background beast into something far more terrifying. Simple survival is checked off the list. Now he must figure out what comes next. He needs a true goal, something beyond just breathing. Pausing, he checks his status as if opening a video game menu. His species is listed as an unidentified aggressive space morph. His rank is youngling, and while survival remains his main objective. That feels far too basic now. His first evolution is complete, and it feels incredible. He scrolls through his brand new abilities: predator-sensing wings, a chitin shell, paralyzing venom, a reinforced exoskeleton, and highly acidic blood. He is a fully realized predator, but his final class is still undecided, which bugs him. Still, the alien understands what this means. He has truly become a youngling, leaving his next evolution wide open. He can grow in almost any direction. This reminds him of the classic Amorph life cycle, which spans 6 stages and 5 major leaps: first a hatchling, then a youngling. Next comes the juvenile stage, followed by subadult, full adult, and finally, ascension. Reaching that peak means completing the entire cosmic cycle. Ascension is the ultimate goal, the evolutionary peak where all cosmic secrets, origins, and instincts finally unlock, but it is a brutal path with an incredibly low survival rate. Only around 20 of his kind in history have ever reached that legendary status. Shifting back to reality, his class remains completely undecided. It is like standing on the edge of a major mutation without knowing what you will become. Suddenly, a glowing system prompt flashes in his mind, asking if he wants to see potential specializations. The alien does not hesitate. He wants to see them. Driven by sheer curiosity, he mentally confirms yes. The system displays 2 choices. First is physical enhancement, with 6 out of 10 requirements met. That makes sense, given his heavy exoskeleton. Acidic blood and endurance-focused biology. The second path is psionic enhancement, showing an impossible 15 out of 3 requirements met. The alien stares at the absurd numbers, utterly baffled. 1 point clearly comes from his predator sense, but where did the other 14 come from? He knows he does not possess any hidden psychic powers. It makes no sense until a sudden memory hits. He thinks back to his hatching day, when he fed on the humans locked in cargo with him. There was only one body he never fully consumed, the elite woman, Kisaragi Eugene. Back then he just thought she was incredibly perceptive, but now he realizes she possessed massive psychic abilities. Since he partially absorbed her, he inherited a portion of her dormant power. That explains why his psionic stats are so insanely high. The alien realizes the only way to fully awaken this power is to finish what he started: track down Eugene's corpse and consume the rest. It is a grim task, but absolutely crucial for his evolution. He starts slithering through the ship, scaling walls and ceilings with deadly precision. But as he tries to navigate, he runs into a frustrating problem: the vents he used before are way too narrow. His larger youngling body simply cannot squeeze inside. But just as annoyance kicks in, a unique scent cuts through the air, sharp and distinct, the smell of a preserved corpse. He locks onto it immediately, letting the scent guide him like a map through the dark corridors. Finally, he reaches a heavily sealed door. Behind it lies the ship's cold mortuary storage. They lie in frozen silence right beneath him. Somewhere in that dark room, Eugene's body is waiting. The alien looks down, realizing that beyond this cold door lies his next major step. It is the absolute key to his next evolution. He slips inside the mortuary, where the air is heavy with an eerie freezer stench, moving like a shadow between the rows of preserved corpses. His many eyes scan the cold room, immediately locking onto his target, Kisaragi Eugene. She lies perfectly preserved, looking exactly like she did when she was first put in storage. With her face frozen in time, the alien stares as a strange realization hits him. He thinks about all the lives he has taken, but feels absolutely nothing. No guilt and no regret. Was he always this empty, or did becoming an amorph wipe away his humanity? He shrugs it off. Philosophy can wait. Right now, he has a job to do. He leans over Eugene's pod and begins to feed. His monstrous body rapidly breaks her down, absorbing her genetic code as if it were meant to be consumed. But midway through, he notices something lodged deep in her chest. It is a strange mechanical device. Tilting his head in confusion, he figures it might be a backup heart implant. Whatever it is, he devours it along with her flesh. Suddenly, a chime rings in his mind. Eugene possessed true psychic abilities, and now that power belongs to him. A system notification confirms the successful predation and the harvesting of a brand new psychic organ. He hesitates, wondering why an amorph needs a specific organ to use powers. They should tap into psychic energy naturally, but he knows every minor trait helps him specialize. He accepts the mutation. The new organ integrates seamlessly into his body. Feeling a slight shift, he tests the power, feeling a sudden spark of hope. After all, his predator sensing Started out weak before combining into something fearsome. Perhaps this will do the same. With Eugene fully consumed, his hunger subsides, but he still craves more. He turns to the dead guard. The guard tastes awful, metallic, and incredibly tough. He forces it down anyway, harvesting every bit of biomass and genetic material. But reality hits hard. Someone will be here soon. A replacement guard will arrive shortly, and they will definitely notice the bloody mess. These people do not believe in ghosts. They will immediately realize a monster is on board. Sloppy cover-ups will not work here. Looking at his current stats, he knows he cannot fight the entire ship yet. He needs more time to evolve. Running is an option, but he hates playing cat and mouse. He needs a distraction to buy himself precious time. His eyes scan the room, landing on preservative dispensers, chemical tanks, and highly volatile supplies. A sinister idea takes shape. If he can create a massive chemical fire, the chaos will buy him the time he needs to evolve, and honestly, it is a brilliant play. As he sets his trap, the story shifts far away to Megacub, the massive conglomerate ruling the universe. Unlike traditional empires, they run their entire intergalactic domain directly from Earth. This planet is the ultimate command center. At the very peak of this society are 5 founding companies, now grown into 5 ultra-powerful dynasties ruling over global politics and industry. Chief among them is the terrifying Eugene family. Their massive territory covers what used to be East Asia, rooted in Korea. Their estate is incredibly advanced and heavily armed. They run private fleets of aircraft, high-speed maglev trains, and even an artificial sun to control their climate. Inside this secure dome, the family enjoys absolute luxury and power. Meanwhile, millions of common workers obey their every whim. At the center of it all is the patriarch of the Eugene family, who is busy executing a brutal, public punishment. An aide approaches with extreme caution, knowing a single mistake means death. Bowing with a trembling voice, he delivers some urgent news regarding Kisaragi. The old patriarch pauses. He demands to know which Kisaragi, and the aide quickly explains it is the granddaughter from his 3rd child. The ruthless old man focuses instantly as the full report begins. The aide reveals her last known signal came from a highly dangerous region held by the space dogs. At first, the patriarch refuses to believe it, but the reality quickly sinks in. There is no grief here, only cold financial math. She cost 2 billion credits to raise, including gene enhancement therapy. That is equivalent to the price of a brand new starship. He casually orders his men to clean up the mess, making it clear that the family will tolerate no threats to their assets. Instantly, his mind turns to bloody revenge. Who would dare touch his property? He begins sorting through potential rivals, starting with Captain Young Samuel of the Sample family on Titan, though he doubts direct involvement from them. Instead, he suspects the rival TNC Corporation is the true culprit, possibly working alongside Asjun through a highly secret, funded alliance. He believes Chamberlain, the mastermind behind TNC, is making a bold political play against him. Furious at the threat to his wealth, the patriarch cold-bloodedly issues a terrifying command. He orders his men to bring Captain Young Samuel and all his associates to face his wrath. Anyone who dares touch his property is going to pay with their life. Meanwhile, the alien's trap is sprung, throwing the quiet spaceship into total chaos. Corrosive acid smoke pours from the mortuary vents, transforming the clean hallways into a toxic nightmare. Alarms scream, panicking the crew. On the bridge, a terrified security officer bursts through the doors, his face completely pale and his body trembling like he has seen a ghost. He stammers out that toxic smoke is flooding the ship. To make matters worse, a team sent to investigate discovered a massive fire tearing through the storage vaults. The captain slams his fist onto the console, nearly shattering the screen. He screams out, demanding how on earth a massive fire could possibly break out in a high-tech morgue. The trembling officer explains that security teams tried to intervene, but strict lockdown protocols blocked them. Only authorized medical staff can access the secure morgue area. With his jaw clenched, the captain stares at the officer, immediately suspecting foul play. He floats a theory that some bitter, late-shift crew member is trying to sabotage the ship. But those suspicions are quickly cut short. He barks another furious order, demanding to know if all the preserved bodies are accounted for. The officer stiffens in terror. He admits that 2 bodies are completely missing. The captain's face instantly drains of color as he mutters that it is impossible. Overwhelmed by dread, he snaps a sudden order. He demands every department head gather immediately. He knows they are in deep trouble. Minutes later, the terrified leaders pack into the briefing room, tension suffocating the air. The head of security steps forward to deliver the worst news imaginable. Both the research leader's corpse and the dead guard's body are gone. The room instantly erupts into chaos. Angry shouts and disbelief fill the air. One department head scoffs, arguing that dead bodies do not just stand up and walk away, but the chief of security looks completely defeated. With a cracking voice, he swears he has triple-checked every database on the ship. There is absolutely no error. Those two bodies have vanished without a single trace. The leaders trade uneasy glances, terrified to speak their darkest fears. Finally, the supply chief nervously voices the one thought they are all trying to ignore. Could there be an undocumented alien species on board? The words hang heavily in the silent room. Shouts of disbelief instantly erupt, but the seed of terror has been planted. Now everyone is side-eyeing the shadows, expecting a monster to jump out at any second. The captain slams his hand down, barking a command to silence the room. The captain reminds everyone that their main priority is the missing body of the head researcher. The entire mission depends on delivering that corpse. Without it, their massive deal with the pirates at C8 is dead. He barks out that they must find it at all costs. His voice carries the heavy weight of a man who knows failure does not just mean getting yelled at. It means game over. The captain tightens the tension further with a cold warning. This is not about his ego or authority. If anyone in this room even thinks about crossing them or seeking revenge from the noble capital, they will quickly realize why complete obedience is their only choice. No one dares to say it aloud, but everyone knows the truth. No one survives the wrath of the Eugene family. The captain turns to his crisis management leader, demanding a status update. The man nods, confirming that the call to their partners was placed immediately after their last meeting. The captain then drops a wildly reckless order. Do not tell them what actually happened. Just pretend they are handing over the body as planned. One brave crew leader actually dares to ask if that is actually safe. The captain growls that admitting they lost the body after finding it would be far worse. As long as they recover the corpse before the rendezvous, they can still salvage their reputation. Finally, the captain glares at the sweating head of security, delivering a blunt ultimatum. Find the culprit. Trying his best is not enough. Failure is out of the question. To clear his path, the captain grants him absolute power to interrogate every single person on the ship, regardless of their rank or department. The crushing weight of this task hits the security chief instantly, sweat dripping down his face. He knows this ship is a ticking time bomb, and he was just handed the match. The meeting ends under the suffocating shadow of a hidden predator. Speaking of which, the alien waits in the dark, watching chaos spread through the vessel. Up on the bridge, everything is a mess. Panicked crew members scramble to contain the situation. The security chief vows to hunt down the saboteur, his voice tight. The captain nods calmly, though his eyes betray deep anxiety. Hidden away, the alien watches with cold satisfaction. His brilliant plan worked. He mixed morgue chemicals with his own bioacid to spark the massive fire. The result was incredibly clean, dissolving all evidence of his last meal. Eavesdropping on their comms, he hears them debating the existence of extraterrestrials before their meeting with the space pirates. He recognizes the immense risk they are taking. That chaotic meeting might be his perfect cover. He decides to play the long game, observe the pirates first, and choose his next victim. Suddenly, his sharp senses pick up a strange movement. The supply manager, who laughed off the alien rumors earlier, is acting incredibly shady. The man creeps through the dark hallways, constantly looking over his shoulder. Stalking him like a shadow, the beast watches the manager stop at a heavy, high-security container. The thick shielding blocks even the creature's advanced senses. Whatever is hidden inside is massive. Later, the paranoid supply manager is drinking heavily alone in his cabin, talking frantically to himself. A voice crackles over his radio telling him to sober up, but he ignores it. Through his panicked ramblings, the truth slips out. He bought illegal ancient relics, hoping to flip them for a fortune. He smuggled the container onto the ship and set up a buyer, but one of the eggs hatched while he was completely wasted. He curses his stupidity, knowing that if the captain finds out, he is a dead man. Drowning in fear, he drinks even more. Later, he stumbles out into the dim corridors, drunk and terrified. Suddenly, a massive impact slams him hard against the wall. He screams out, but only a faint, terrifying clicking sound answers from the shadows. Total panic sets in as he flees toward a nearby blast door, his hands shaking as he tries to open it. He frantically tries to broadcast a distress call, but his radio completely dies. A cold clicking sound draws closer. The predator closes in, silent and deadly. The manager's last moments are pure terror as a guttural growl echoes through the corridor. Then silence. The creature feeds quickly and quietly, hunger sated, the alien turns his gaze back to that high-security vault, knowing whatever is sealed inside could change his entire fate. He reflects on how easy it was to end that pathetic human. The manager's life was just a sad cycle of alcohol and failure. To the beast, he was just a waste of valuable resources. He slips into the dead man's messy room, feeling a wave of disgust. Bottles litter the floor, dirty clothes are piled high, and the air smells rancid. His sharp claws click on the metal floor as he creeps through the garbage. Sifting through the junk, he unearths a faded photograph of a woman. He stares at it, completely empty. The complex emotions humans feel are totally foreign to him. Finally, he grabs what he actually came for, the high-security keycard and codes. Before slipping out, he finishes eating the remains, ignoring the bitter taste of alcohol. Ruined flesh, waste is completely unacceptable when every ounce of biomass matters. Keycard in hand, he walks up to the heavy security vault. A soft beep echoes, and the reinforced steel door glides open, revealing a massive cryogenic freezer. His suspicions are confirmed. The smuggler had hidden cargo, but this is no ordinary contraband. Several massive, unsettling eggs sit nestled in the frost. Morph eggs, and one is cracked open. The beast freezes as the truth hits him. That broken shell belonged to him. The man he just ate was the one who brought him onto this ship. Talk about a twisted coincidence. He stares at the remaining eggs, stunned. A bizarre revelation about his own origin. He pauses for a second, then clears his mind as raw instinct takes over. The law of his species is brutal. Only one survives. The others must be consumed. He grabs the first egg and eats it whole, but nothing happens. He cracks open another, then another. Finally, the system alerts start flashing. Vitality up, leg power upgraded, and a massive new skill unlocked, mimicry. His overall physical level shoots to 8 out of 10, with his passive abilities spiking right along with it. A wave of raw power floods his senses. Mimicry is an absolute game changer, far better than anything he hoped to unlock so early. Now he can move freely, blend in, and prepare. The ship is fast approaching. It's meeting with the dangerous space dogs. He needs to evolve fast, stacking every advantage he can before they arrive. Swallowing the last bits of the frozen biomass, his focus sharpens. Out in the cold void of space, there is only one law: eat or be eaten. Meanwhile, the mood aboard the Mega Cobb research ship is dripping with absolute paranoia. Out on the deck, engineers Scott and Fincher are busy clanking away at repairs. Fincher suddenly drops his heavy wrench and calls it a day. Scott just sighs, exhausted and wanting to finish. Before taking a break, as they pack up, Fincher will not stop talking shop. Scott begs him to change the subject, craving a quiet dinner, but Fincher leans in close, whispering about a rumor. The higher-ups are apparently trying to hunt down some metallic monster. Scott rolls his eyes, but Fincher looks genuinely terrified. He whispers that he believes the beast is already stalking their hulls. He points out that the ship smells awful lately, the monster's signature scent. He claims crew members are vanishing, and even the supply manager suddenly disappeared, giving the cargo guy an instant promotion. To Fincher, the math adds up. Scott tries to stay logical, suggesting the higher-ups are just quietly firing people. Fincher shakes his head in frustration, complaining that Scott never takes danger seriously. They sit down to eat. Scott skips dessert, but asks Fincher to grab him some strong alcohol if he finds any. Fincher agrees and takes off, leaving Scott behind with his tools. He sighs, knowing tonight's battleship maintenance is a lost cause. Later, Scott is back in the hangar working completely alone when a voice calls out from the shadows. It is Cameron, telling him to come over. Scott groans that he is busy, but Cameron insists, making Scott throw his tools down in frustration. Worth his time, he follows the sound into a pitch-black maintenance room, asking what Cameron is doing sitting in the dark. The voice claims it is looking for something and demands quick help. His flashlight flickers until a strange metallic smell hits his nose. His stomach instantly drops. Fincher's earlier warning echoes in his mind like a bad omen. He calls out Cameron's name again, his voice shaking. The shadows shift, something moves. Suddenly, he is slammed down with a force so fast he cannot even process it. Scott screams once before everything goes dark. The terrifying beast was using its brand new mimicry power to copy Cameron's voice, baiting Scott right into a fatal trap. The monster coldly thanks him for the meal, feeling full and satisfied. This new ability is turning into a deadly weapon, and the creature knows it. Hunting has become completely effortless. Sated and calm, the monster prepares its next move, while the oblivious crew continues to drop one by one. Fincher shows up at the workshop holding snacks. He calls out for Scott, totally excited, but finds the entire place empty. This is bizarre because Fincher knows his partner never leaves his post while on the clock. Fincher bends down to search for his friend, but only finds the unfinished maintenance work Scott was supposed to be doing. There is no sign of him anywhere, which is highly suspicious. Then, out of nowhere, Scott's voice calls out, claiming he is working inside the repair bay. Fincher walks up to the entrance, wondering why on earth Scott would go in there. Trust me, things are about to get weird. Fincher instantly senses something is off, especially since the lights inside the repair bay are completely off. Everyone knows Scott has terrible night vision. There is no way he could find anything in the dark, especially since he once tripped over his own toolbox in broad daylight. The voice urges him again, claiming Scott needs help moving a heavy object. Fincher finally sighs and walks inside, expecting to find his friend waiting. He clicks on his flashlight to cut through the heavy gloom, wondering what Scott is actually up to. Suddenly, his beam hits a discarded flashlight on the metal floor. He recognizes it as Scott's. On high alert, he bends down to pick it up, only to feel a thick liquid drip onto the back of his neck. He wipes it off, realizing this is definitely not water. Panic sets in as more fluid begins to rain down from the ceiling. Then, Scott's face drops directly in front of him, his eyes rolled back in death. The beast on the ceiling reveals itself, dangling Scott's lifeless head from its multiple claws. It lunges at Fincher, uniting the two partners in a horrific end. As the creature devours its meal, it reflects on just how useful this mimicry ability is for hunting. It allows the beast to weaponize familiar voices and lure unsuspecting prey. Back when the supply manager tried smuggling illegal creatures, one of them was a red worm larva. The red worm is a massive desert predator capable of mimicking voices to hunt in extreme environments. By devouring that larva, the alien absorbed its mimicry gene. However, its copycat power is slightly limited. It can only reproduce the voice of the very last victim it devoured. Even so, it remains a deadly and terrifying tool. Now, it can use Fincher's voice to bait the next human. Its eyes are set on a kitchen crew member named Cameron. The monster slides open the vents and crawls through the steel ducts, focused entirely on the hunt. It wonders how the little slime is holding up, deciding to name it number 26. It sneaks through the vents to visit the slime before returning to the nest. Suddenly, a voice echoes directly inside his head. Shocked, he realizes the slime is using brainwaves to speak. He projects a mental greeting back to it, letting it know he is there. The slime complains that it is starving. The alien is amazed by how advanced its communication has become, wondering if the cyanium accelerated its brain development. He apologizes, explaining that finding food has been incredibly difficult lately. The slime asks why, and the alien admits that moving around has become too risky since the research leader vanished. The security chief doubled patrols and sealed off most of the ducts, making smuggling food almost impossible. For now, he can only offer words. He urges the slime to hold on a bit longer without eating, then slips away. If only he could reach the pupa stage, he could really help. But that evolution requires slaughtering and consuming 10 members of every intelligent species. The catch is there are only humans on this vessel, maybe some space pirates too, but he cannot be certain. Activating his enhanced hearing, he eavesdrops on the risk management team leader discussing a secret plan and taking orders from high up. The man claims everything is running smoothly since Lady Kizaragi has been dealt with. He also adds that the ship will arrive exactly on schedule and Captain Samuel's orders are fully logged. Hearing this, the alien freezes in the vents. It realizes this human is not just manipulation royalty, but is orchestrating a much grander scheme. The alien decides to stay hidden and watch, waiting to see how this human conspiracy plays out. Down below, a high-stakes meeting is underway. The ship's department heads, they are all demanding answers from the security chief since attacks are happening left and right. the poor security chief can only offer hollow apologies, which only makes the others angrier. They are scheduled to rendezvous with space pirates in just 2 days, yet the security forces seem completely unprepared, leaving every major crisis unresolved. The security chief defends himself, arguing that no matter how many cameras he installs or guards he posts on watch, the hidden enemy always manages to slip past them. He turns to the navigation officer, asking how many crew members are unaccounted for. The officer reluctantly reveals that around 8 people have vanished. At this point, the vessel feels less like a high-tech spaceship and more like a slaughterhouse. 7 people vanished right after the first research leader died, yet no one can catch the killer. The chief even doubts his own staff, accusing everyone of working with the enemy, which is honestly his smartest guess all week. Up in the dark vents, the alien chuckles silently at their sheer incompetence, knowing he is the monster they are looking for, perched right above their heads. The exhausted chief finally slumps into his seat after screaming at everyone. That is when another department head speaks up, defending the security measures. The angry old manager glares across the table and sees the risk management leader, who explains that he personally audited the security protocols and confirmed they did everything humanly possible. The old man fumes, shouting that they have a literal murderer loose, and now everyone is suddenly playing nice and defending each other, but he is cut off with the theory that the killer cannot be human. By human standards, no person could possibly evade detection this well. It is a hilarious claim, considering these idiots probably couldn't find their shoes in a clean closet. While metallic gremlins are just myths, some strange entity might be hunting them. Overhearing this, the alien feels a tiny pang of worry, proving even apex predators get uncomfortable when surrounded by fools pretending to be detectives. With the atmosphere growing tense, the department heads start giving each other a piece of their minds, which is generous since most of them do not have much brainpower to spare. They argue the ship's high-tech scanning systems would have easily flagged any hostile alien lifeform by now, displaying peak human logic by trusting computer code over their own survival instincts. The risk management leader nods along, bringing up his past military background to support the theory. The AI confirms the worst. The onboard freezers and supply containers are completely empty. Whatever was locked inside those metal boxes is now running loose in the dark corridors. Every squad leader is on high alert. Even the hidden amorph realizes the gig is up. His biggest fear is coming true as the humans wake up to reality. Honestly, the real shocker is how long it took these geniuses to put the pieces together. Meanwhile, a bald old veteran looks completely bored. He shrugs, asking a simple question: if some alien beast is tearing through the ship, why has not a single soul spotted it yet? Arnold, the risk management chief, suddenly freezes before pointing a trembling finger at the ceiling. They still haven't checked the ventilation shafts. Those ducts snake across the entire vessel. It is the perfect highway for a hidden predator. Arnold estimates the beast to be roughly 1 meter long, which still sounds too small to easily tear a grown man apart. After all, 80-centimeter metallic gremlins can shred military starships. There is zero reason to assume a vent-dwelling monster is any less lethal. Deep in the lower decks, the amorph presses against the cold hull. He sends biopulses through the steel structure, weaving a living sensory web. Suddenly, the entire research vessel lay bare to him. He maps every corridor, tracking the rhythmic vibrations of human footsteps. It is as if this metal beast of a ship has been infected by a parasite that claimed its inorganic brain. He feels everything. He knows the ship's darkest secrets and the captain's hidden agenda. Right now, he senses Captain Samuel and the officers gathering on the bridge. He can even see their fear. Arnold is supposed to be up there coordinating the squads, but instead, he is sweating bullets. Meanwhile, armed soldiers creep into the dark vents. They are moving so loud and heavy. Honestly, they might as well carry giant neon signs. Predictable. The military split their forces, entering from 2 different hatch points, but the amorph is already 2 steps ahead. His counter-strategy is fully set. He will just tweak the final details once he sees what weapons they brought to play with. A dark smirk plays on his face as he prepares to greet his guests. They are waiting so eagerly for him to show up. Inside the dark shafts, the soldiers check their intercoms. Team A radios the control room, confirming they are moving in. The operators ping Team B, demanding a status check. Team B radios back, but their audio is heavily distorted. Static and high-pitched glitches cut through their comms, prompting warnings to stabilize. The commander barks to clear the frequency and orders both units to report any anomaly immediately. Back in command, Arnold is chewing his lip. He is deeply annoyed. Hunting down Kisaragi was supposed to be his personal victory. Now, some wild beast has stolen his glory. Still, he cannot let anger ruin his long-term goals. Too many wild cards are at play. Every single variable must be eliminated before they reach Zaihun Yunjin. He cannot allow a single slip-up. The beast must die before the day ends so he can move to the next phase. Static crackles loudly. Team A reports reaching a junction, opting to clear the right pathway. Moments later, Team B signals they have reached a similar split and are also pushing right. However, a subunit of Team B complains about their failing transmitters, promising a full update once the equipment is rebooted. The atmospheric static is getting worse by the second. The radio officer tells them to stay in touch. Arnold chimed in, warning everyone to proceed with extreme caution. These ventilation paths are a total maze. The operators tell the squads to take their time and scan every corner. Suddenly, Arnold frowns at the monitors. The video feed from Squad B3 has completely frozen. He orders the technician to investigate. The operator pings the squad, telling them to check their lens, but only dead silence answers back. The radio officer repeats the command. Still nothing. Then a shaky voice cuts through, claiming Squad B3 is fine. The camera feed flickers back to life, though the picture is trembling violently. The control room instructs Squad B2 to hold position and wait for backup, but as the two groups close the distance, a blood-curdling scream rips through the intercom. Terror floods the control room. Arnold tenses up, knowing their target has finally struck. Talk about bad timing. His idea of staying alert is just standing there, grinding his teeth. The technicians desperately scream for Squad B2 to report in. Arnold's jaw is clenched so hard it might shatter, completely helpless as his men are slaughtered in the dark. It is confirmed the shadow got to Squad B2. When pressed for details, a panicked soldier stammers that they saw absolutely nothing. The monster simply materialized from thin air. Panic erupts among the command staff. Officers shout over each other, demanding answers from the radar technician. They are terrified that their entire strike team has been wiped out. The captain spins on Arnold, blasting him for his utter incompetence. And honestly, it is hard to blame him. Arnold manages security like a broken umbrella, handles a Category 5 hurricane. You had one job, Arnold. He looks like he is having a total midlife crisis. He cannot believe how fast this whole extermination op is going downhill. Not that it ever looked promising to begin with. In a literal heartbeat, an entire squad was erased. These were elite soldiers clad in heavy, reinforced combat armor. Yet they did not even have time to fire a single shot. Obliterating a fully geared military unit this quickly is unheard of. It is an impossible level of lethality. Even a master assassin would struggle to pull this off. Arnold squeezes his fists until his knuckles turn white. He is absolutely furious at his own staggering arrogance. He genuinely thought he was hunting some stray alley cat he could cage. Now, he feels like a complete idiot. The threat they are facing is infinitely faster and deadlier. It is far worse than his worst nightmare, though let us be real, his plans usually fall apart faster than a house of cards. Arnold snaps, barking orders at the technician. Tell the remaining squads to shoot on sight if they even think the air is moving. Classic Arnold logic, converting pure panic into tactical protocol. The technician quickly relays the alert. He commands the active Team B squads to regroup, hunt down the attackers, and fire at anything that moves. Do not hesitate. Do not wait for verification. Just pull the trigger. The squads acknowledge the order, but Arnold's stomach sinks. He finally understands the true strength of their enemy. He is staring at a slaughterhouse, and he knows it. His men do not stand a ghost of a chance. No amount of training or tactical gear can bridge this gap. Deep down, he knows they are sending these boys to die. Suddenly, a warning chime blares from the radar deck. Squad 1 of Team B radios back. Their breathing is heavy, reporting a strange scratching sound echoing down the shafts. The technician asks them to identify the noise, but the terrified soldiers are completely clueless. They only know one thing: something is rapidly crawling toward their position. But they hesitate to open fire. At this junction, it could easily be one of their own squads retreating. They cannot risk shooting their allies in the dark. The entire bridge holds their breath, waiting for the expected slaughter. but a sudden wave of relief sweeps the room as Squad 1 crackles over the radio with some news. They recognize the voices. It is just Squad 3 finally joining up with them. The command center sighs, telling them to confirm the link-up, but the channel instantly goes dead. An agonizing minute passes before a frantic voice screams back. Squad 3 is gone, dragged into the dark. The room dissolves into pure chaos as Arnold boils with helpless rage. At this point, he stomps down the stairs, snatches the transmitter right out of the controller's hand, and demands the squad give him an immediate, detailed update on the situation. But his fury peaks when the soldiers admit they couldn't see a single thing because it all went down too fast. Arnold loses his mind, swearing up a storm at their utter incompetence. How do you miss something right in front of your face? He hurls the radio away in pure frustration, his entire aura turning dark as he desperately tries to figure out their next move. Nothing makes sense anymore. How is this beast anticipating every single move? And how did Squad 1, standing right there, completely fail to notice the attack on the other team? Worse, neither squad showed up on the feeds, almost as if they were deliberately keeping the monster off camera. That is when a sudden realization hits Arnold like a freight train. He snatches the radio back up, even though his sudden ideas usually end in disaster. He barks an order to the Squad 1 comms officer, demanding to know his name and rank. The soldier hesitates, clearly confused, but Arnold screams the command again, shocking the entire control room. That is when a chilling, non-human voice suddenly crackles through the speaker. It sarcastically congratulates Arnold for catching on. Talk about a creepy pat on the back. Right then, the camera pans to the beast, right before getting smashed to pieces. The beast immediately starts tearing into the fallen soldiers. Back in the control room, everyone is forced to listen to the horrific, wet tearing sounds, easily the worst audio feed of their lives. 9. They stand frozen, their minds completely breaking as they hear their men getting eaten alive. Arnold is paralyzed with horror until Team A suddenly chimes in over the comms, asking for an update. This snaps him right back to reality. Meanwhile, the monster finishes up its bloody meal, wipes out the rest of Team B, and immediately begins tracking down the next target. It got this brilliant idea from Slime number 26 by communicating through special wavelengths. The plan was terrifyingly simple: intercept their radio frequency and use their own tactics against them. By blasting his own wavelength, he jammed Squad 3's radios with static, forcing them to fall behind to fix their gear. Once they were isolated, he moved in for the kill. He used a newly unlocked neurotoxin to knock them completely cold. This was the exact moment the humans lost the upper hand, and now the creature gets to feast on his fresh prey. After finishing his meal, it is time to hunt the survivors. He broadcasts his wavelength scan to pinpoint Team A, locking onto their location instantly. They seem highly alert, but that won't save them. The beast scurries toward them. Hunting Team B was easy since they were clueless, but these soldiers now know he can copy the voices of the humans he eats. He needs a new trick. Actually, why not use that exact trick again? Reaching a major crossroad, he realizes Team A has to pass through here eventually, so he decides to set up a deadly little trap. Sometimes knowing your enemy's secrets is a curse rather than a blessing. A little knowledge can be incredibly dangerous. Soon enough, the first squad of Team A reports back to base. They confirm they have reached the intersection and are heading down the right path. Up in the control room, the operators frantically log the report, trying their best to look useful. Arnold warns them again that the beast can mimic human voices, ordering them to open fire the second they hear anyone speaking. Right on cue, a desperate cry for help echoes out. The soldiers don't hesitate for a single second, immediately blasting the area with heavy gunfire. But the creature is lightning fast, easily dodging the onslaught as it slips into the shadows. While the squad holds their positions to confirm a kill, the creature sneaks right up behind the rearguard soldier. Suddenly, the alien grabs the poor guy, holding him as a human shield. He screams in absolute terror, warning his squad mates that the monster is behind them. The beast claws at his throat to shut him up while the other soldiers scramble to react. They want to shoot, but with their comrade being used as a shield, they hesitate. Pulling the trigger now means killing one of their own. Talk about an absolute nightmare scenario. This thing is literally outsmarting a squad of highly trained military professionals. If they fire, they kill their friend, but if they hesitate and hold back, they all end up dead anyway. Even the hostage screams at his squad mates to just open fire and forget about him. Honestly, that is a pretty heroic way to go, especially since nobody wants to die as prey. From the command center, Arnold ruthlessly orders the squad to fire through their teammate. He wants the target dead, no matter the collateral damage, shocking everyone on the line. The soldiers hesitate, but they have no choice but to obey. They are just grunts carrying out ruthless orders, and they don't have the luxury of debating ethics in a war zone. Like puppets on a string, they unleash a devastating barrage. The creature instantly retreats, realizing his hostage strategy is totally useless against a leader who simply does not care about human life. This might actually be the first time anyone realized that Arnold is far more cold-blooded than the monster they are hunting. The squad immediately reports that they have a man down. But instead of letting them retreat, Arnold barks orders to keep pushing forward. He demands they capture the creature at all costs, proving yet again that he views his men as completely expendable. The wounded soldier, who just took friendly fire from his own squad, groans in absolute agony. His teammates rush over, desperately trying to bandage him up as his body begins to fail. He begins seizing violently on the floor, his body completely unable to process the severe trauma and shock. They inject him with emergency medication, but it does absolutely nothing to help. His body suddenly goes limp. With nothing left to do, the soldiers are forced to leave his body behind. They mutter in anger, furious at the beast and grieving their fallen friend. It is pretty ironic considering they were the ones who actually shot him, but they channel all that guilt into pure rage. There is no way they are letting this alien escape now. Sweeping the corridor, they notice the monster actually took some heavy damage too. There is strange, glowing fluid splattered on the floor, sizzling violently as if it is made of pure acid. They are basically fighting a walking biohazard. The squad has absolutely no idea what kind of horrific nightmare they are dealing with, but that is not about to stop them from hunting it down. Survival is the only thing on their minds. They peer into the dark shafts where the beast fled, but the ventilation ducts ahead are incredibly tight, making them hesitate to squeeze inside. They ask the control room for permission to inject combat stimulants to boost their senses. Arnold immediately gives them the green light, and the soldiers prep the highly potent drug. The moment the serum hits their veins, their eyes wildly dilate and glow a bright golden hue. Their bodies tremble violently as they try to survive the overwhelming rush of power. As the initial shock fades, their senses sharpen. Feeling stronger than ever, they are completely locked in on their target, ready to obliterate the nightmare that has slaughtered their friends. They push into the tight shaft and discover a massive, melted hole in the metal floor, surrounded by hissing acid. They radio the command center, reporting no visual signs of the target. It looks like the beast escaped into the lower decks. The control room promises to scan those sectors once the squad transmits their coordinates, but as they focus on their gear, the monster silently drops down from the ceiling right behind them. Luckily, one of the drug-buffed soldiers catches the movement instantly, bringing his loaded weapon right up to aim. The beast lunges to tear him apart, but the squad is fully loaded and ready. They unleash absolute hell without a second of hesitation, finally fighting like the elite soldiers they are. The attacks pierce his flesh, but the creature does not even flinch. It just keeps marching forward. Seeing this unstoppable beast inch closer, the soldier begins to panic, realizing his weapons are completely useless against it. The monster lunges and grabs the man by his helmet. It hoists him off the ground before slamming him down with bone-shattering force. Seeing this, the second soldier snaps, consumed by pure rage. He unleashes a wild barrage, totally ignoring the fact that his squadmate is in the direct line of fire. In his mind, his friend would want him to pull the trigger anyway. His blind fury drives him to spray bullets everywhere. The rounds tear right through his fellow soldier and manage to crack the beast's outer shell, but the monster immediately retaliates. It uses the dead soldier as a shield, but the survivor refuses to back down. He will not let his friend's death be in vain. Charging forward, he aims a heavy punch. He swings with everything he has, but his fist only finds empty air. The creature slips away with terrifying speed. Desperate, the soldier attacks again, praying he can land a single hit. Yet the beast vanishes into the dark, proving this squad couldn't track a turtle. The soldier roars in absolute frustration, utterly devastated by his own failure to stop the threat. All those lives were thrown away for nothing, and the mission is a total disaster. Meanwhile, the creature flees through the ventilation shafts, moving with incredible speed. Once it feels safe from pursuers, it pauses to recover. That last human was surprisingly tough. Even with their combat-enhancing drugs, these soldiers usually do not pack that kind of punch. But that final soldier managed to bruise it pretty badly. The creature realizes it needs to change its strategy now. Its original plan to trick Team A is totally ruined. Honestly, Team A gets fooled by their own shadows, so that is not saying much. The beast scratches its head, trying to come up with a new trap, and quickly spots an opportunity. He is still breathing, barely. The human shield is somehow clinging to life, proving he is actually far tougher than the rest of his squad combined. As the monster looms over him, the dying man screams in absolute terror. He desperately hopes someone will hear him, but this squad has a slower response time than dial-up internet. The creature pins the trembling man to the floor, rendering him completely helpless. With brutal precision, it drives a sharp claw straight through his chest, piercing his heart. His agonizing screams fade into a weak whisper as life drains from his eyes. The monster rips his heart out and begins its grotesque feast, tearing flesh and crunching bones. After devouring the snack, the beast lets out a loud burp of pure satisfaction. It grabs the severed head of the soldier, its mind spinning with a wicked new idea. It smirks, planning to use the helmet camera to alert the control room that Squad A3 was wiped out. It crushes the lens, sending static flooding across their monitors. Panic erupts instantly inside the control room when they realize Squad A3 is completely gone. It is hilarious because these operators seem to freak out every 5 minutes anyway. This just gives them another reason to lose their minds. Meanwhile, the lone survivor of Squad A1 runs for his life. Suddenly, he spots the missing soldier from A3 stumbling toward him. The survivor shakes him, yelling to see if he is all right. He is trying to wake him up, completely oblivious to how dangerous this situation actually is. Common sense has clearly left the building. He reaches for his arm pad to administer medical aid, but before he can tap the screen, a blade pierces his chest. His heart stops. The betrayal leaves him completely paralyzed with shock. Only a faint groan escapes his lips. Then silence. He collapses to the cold floor, writhing in agony as his terrifying screams echo through the narrow vents. The beast crawls out of the split torso of the A3 soldier. Talk about a twisted hiding spot. Witnessing this horror, the A1 survivor freezes up like a complete amateur. The creature's joints pop and crack as it drags its massive frame out of the shell. The petrified soldier scrambles backward, desperate to escape, but the monster cuts him off. It unleashes a deafening screech that paralyzes him. In a flash, the beast tears off his helmet and snaps his neck with a sickening crack, yet somehow, the soldier remains conscious. He looks up with trembling eyes, just in time to hear the beast whisper that he is on the menu tonight. Sharp teeth sink deep into his throat, ripping flesh like paper. His head is torn completely from his body, cutting his final scream short. He is reduced to nothing but raw meat. The helmet camera captures the entire gruesome scene. It broadcasts the horror directly to the control room. Even without audio, the sheer brutality of the feast is enough to paralyze everyone watching. The monster can practically smell their terror. It echoes through the steel corridors. Inside the control center, staff members stare at the screen in complete disbelief. The sheer gore is too much for some to handle. Several people gag and turn away, proving they are in the wrong line of work. Even Arnold watches in sheer disbelief. His perfect strategy has just gone up in flames. Cold sweat drips down his face as he realizes the inevitable truth. They cannot defeat this thing, let alone capture it alive. The nightmare is spreading far beyond the vents. The beast is coming for them next, and Arnold knows he might very well be the main course. Meanwhile, the monster retreats back to its dark lair, thoroughly amused by the human reaction. It wonders what pathetic plan they will dream up next. Wiping out 6 soldiers was barely a warm-up, but there are still about 90 humans left on this vessel. That includes all the remaining security forces and high-ranking officers. Now that it has sent them a clear warning, they will likely throw everything they have at it. But honestly, they break way too easily. The creature also knows they are short on armored power suits, which is a pretty embarrassing oversight for a highly trained military crew. Still, the creature cannot afford to be completely reckless. Heavy military weapons can still deal serious damage, especially if the humans decide to break out their high-tech plasma rifles. If they bring those out, things could get tricky, but judging by their pathetic performance so far, those high-grade weapons are probably just sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Standard plasma gear is designed for massive space battles, usually far too bulky for a single soldier to carry. While portable versions do exist, they are incredibly rare and expensive. Only elite corporate squads ever get their hands on them. Looking at the inventory of this specific ship, it is highly unlikely these humans have anything that lethal. Peering through a ventilation grate, the creature watches a group of soldiers head toward the agriculture wing. They clearly expect it to strike there, which is the perfect distraction. While the foolish humans waste their time searching the wrong end of the ship, the beast decides to slip away in the opposite direction to hunt down its real targets. It wants to eliminate the leadership first. Cutting off the head of their command structure will throw the entire vessel into absolute chaos, and there is one specific target it wants. That target is Arnold. His tactical mind is the only real threat to the Amorph's survival. Eavesdropping on the bridge, the creature can't help but mock their clueless discussion. Samuel is practically shouting at Arnold, demanding to know what they are dealing with and where it will strike next, as if Arnold has some magical radar. Arnold calmly explains that the cargo manager smuggled an unregistered specimen on board, meaning this could be their rogue escapee. This explanation only makes Samuel fly into a deeper rage, calling him irresponsible. Now, the soldiers Arnold sent into the vents wearing those special power suits are completely gone too. They made zero progress, which is honestly quite impressive in its own way since Arnold treats losing troops like an Olympic sport. Listening in, the beast realizes those power suits were actually just built for the high-ranking leaders to show off. In space, he laughs at their stupidity for cheaping out on gear, roasting them in his mind. Meanwhile, Arnold snaps at Samuel, arguing that better equipment would have saved everyone. He boasts that they at least confirmed the creature is smart, lethal, and mimics humans. That is basically fancy talk for they are doomed, but hey, the final report will look great. Arnold tries to spin this disaster into some vital reconnaissance mission. Puffing out his chest, he tells Samuel he has one final request. When Samuel asks what he wants, Arnold demands permission to unleash the heavy plasma launcher sitting in the armory. Samuel gasps in shock, and the other squad leaders look just as horrified by the sudden suggestion. They call Arnold completely out of his mind, reminding him they all agreed to save that heavy firepower for the pirates. The group stares in absolute disbelief, even on a battleship. Arnold is acting like a lunatic trying to fire it on a whim. One leader snaps that if he wants to die so badly, he should jump off the ship right now. That threat hangs heavy in the air. Over in the vents, the beast smiles, confirming they really do have a plasma launcher, but right now, the humans are totally disorganized. This chaos is the perfect opportunity to strike. His main target, Arnold, is standing way too far back, but right beneath the vent sits a terrified old man. It is Director Wei, the sadistic researcher who tortured number 26. The beast decides to start with him. It is a perfect chance to settle an old score. He shatters the steel vent right above the director. Dropping down like a nightmare, the alien almost feels a bit proud of his own theatrical timing. Arnold spins toward the crash just as the alien beast falls directly onto Wei. The director freezes in sheer terror, staring straight into those glowing red eyes. He stares right down the creature's gaping maw, knowing this is the end. He shrieks in absolute panic, his boots practically welded to the floor. He cannot even twitch to save his own skin, completely paralyzed by dread. The beast crushes him under his massive weight, dropping down hard. Teeth tear through flesh as Wei screams in agonizing pain. The surrounding officers watch in absolute horror as the beast feeds, realizing their lives are on the line. Once his hunger is satisfied, the predator lunges at the remaining leaders, sending them scattering in wild panic. He snaps bones and tears limbs apart. Nothing remains but desperate, pathetic whimpers. Still playing the brave hero, Arnold barks orders to sound the ship-wide alarm and reaches for the intercom. He wants to make a grand broadcast, but before he can utter a sound, a sharp blade drives straight through his neck. Instant silence, but Arnold still has a compact weapon, and he fires blindly at the alien. It does absolutely nothing. The monster is actually shocked to see Arnold fighting back instead of being the first to run. It seems this coward actually has a tiny bit of backbone. Too bad bravery without brains is just an easy meal. Even without a power suit, Arnold stands his ground. But honestly, it is pathetic. With that tiny weapon, he could not leave a single mark even if the beast stood completely still. The monster stares at him, puzzled. What is driving this man to fight the monster that just slaughtered his entire squad like tissue paper? Whatever the reason, his eyes are locked in. Arnold is ready to die, and the beast is happy to oblige. But right as he prepares to strike, a sudden vision flashes through the monster's mind. He sees himself fighting Arnold, only for the man to unleash a hidden plasma beam that disintegrates him. The monster freezes instantly, refusing to take another step. Terror grips him. There is no way Arnold should own a highly expensive plasma weapon. If a single blast hits his head or torso, he is finished. He will turn to ash. Even a near miss would leave him horribly crippled. The alien curses inwardly, feeling completely cheated by the universe right now. Out of all the weaklings he slaughtered, this annoying pest had to be the biggest threat. Arnold must have pulled major favors with the powerful Eugene family. That is the only way a nobody like him could secure such a devastating tool. The beast pauses, and Arnold immediately notices the sudden change in behavior. Arnold realizes the creature is actually hesitating because it knows about the plasma weapon. As he draws the gun, the remaining survivors stop in absolute shock. That high-tech weapon is worth a massive fortune. Arnold aims the barrel directly at the beast, his voice cold. He admits he does not recognize this creature. But something about it feels familiar. The movements, the abilities, the terrifying aura, it all points to one specific person. To him, the resemblance is unmistakable. This thing acts exactly like his master, Hun Eugen. Arnold fires a blinding shot, forcing the predator to scramble for cover. The creature retreats into the shadows. Arnold mutters that he must eliminate all wild variables before his master arrives. He stalks forward, cornering the hiding beast. The alien breathes heavily, visibly wounded and desperate for an escape route. This is easily the most dangerous situation he has encountered since waking up inside the cargo hold. Yet he survived worse back when he was playing the game, and he always came out on top. The beast snarls, warning Arnold to stay back. He will survive to meet whoever is coming, whether it is Hun Eugen or some other boss. He will slaughter Arnold and every single soul on board. In nature, predators like wolves and lions are often depicted as fearless monsters, but that is not how real hunters operate. True predators are cautious. They actively avoid any fight where they might take heavy damage. That survival instinct is what makes a hunter deadly. Call it cowardice, but it works. Back when he played as an alien morph in the game, he mastered this exact rule, since arriving in this universe. He has relied on that knowledge to survive. Raw strength and secrets are completely useless if you get reckless and get yourself killed. Arnold fires again as the beast flees, forcing the monster to admit the man is actually highly capable. He uses his sensing ability to gauge Arnold's true power. Finding that his heart rate remains completely steady, he was only acting scared. The clever human must have figured out the beast has some sort of sensory radar. Hiding his real pulse, the monster senses a chilling darkness in this guy. They share the exact same cold, calculating killer instinct. Arnold is an experienced predator. The beast realized he got completely played by a calm, calculating human. To the monster, Arnold is. The beast looks less like prey and more like a final boss now. Every passing second shows this supposed apex predator is just a punchline in Arnold's highlight reel. The creature flees, trying to get away from Arnold as fast as possible. But Arnold keeps blasting his plasma weapon, melting down everything in his path. The creature is absolutely terrified for its life at this point. Running like a cornered animal. With the tables turned, Samuel screams over the comms, warning Arnold that trashing vital control systems will completely doom the entire vessel. He warns him not to blow holes in life support just because he lost his temper. Arnold nods, saying he will keep that in mind. Even though his aim looks pretty terrible, the beast ducks behind the control consoles, using multi-million-dollar equipment as a personal shield. Arnold grinds his teeth, completely furious. It is almost like the alien is trolling him by hiding behind priceless technology. The monster waves again, while Arnold is really just struggling not to scream in pure frustration. Finally, Arnold speaks into the intercom, his voice dead serious. He orders every single soldier to get to the control room because this beast has turned their ship's heart into a playground. But the beast is smart. It realizes Arnold is only stalling for time, and all this shooting is just to pin him in one corner like a rat in a cage. keeping him away from the captain and other leaders while reinforcements rush the room. Arnold almost pulled it off, but the Amorph is far too smart and twice as petty. Baring its teeth in a wicked grin, the beast ducks under a desk looking for anything useful. It spots a fire extinguisher, a perfect ticket out of this mess. If these humans want to use high-tech plasma, he will just embarrass them with basic safety gear. He grabs it, pulls the pin, and sprays it directly at Arnold, filling the air with a thick, white cloud of freezing carbon dioxide. Arnold gasps in surprise, yelling to the crew that it is a trick. He swings his heavy weapon blindly, looking like a man swatting at flies, hoping to land a lucky strike or clear the smoke. Instead, he only heats up the air while the soldiers choke and cough. The entire room is buried under a heavy white haze. Arnold completely snaps, screaming at his men, calling them total idiots. He barks at them to actually use their useless weapons, instead of standing around like they are holding umbrellas. The squad stumbles around, bumping shoulders and squinting through the dense fog. Suddenly, Arnold freezes, his eyes narrowing as a sudden realization hits him. He has a rough idea of where the beast is hiding in this blinding carbon dioxide. Arnold screams at his men to evacuate the captain immediately, fearing the monster. We'll target the remaining young leaders in the blinding whiteout. Hiding in the thick gas, the creature notes that Arnold is actually quite clever for a mere human. He catches on fast, but targeting the leader is no longer the main objective. The beast silently creeps up on a panicked soldier who is coughing and gagging in the fog. The creature opens its jaws, sinking its teeth deep into the man's shoulder. Terrible, blood-curdling screams echo as the soldier fights for his life while his bones are crushed to splinters. Amidst the chaos, a soldier yells for the captain's location, and a voice answers back through the haze. Arnold barks a warning: do not trust any voice because the creature can mimic them perfectly. Do not be fooled. Just then, the beast strikes another unsuspecting target, proving these guards have slower reaction times than a broken elevator in a power outage. Another voice calls out, claiming the young leader is already dead. Arnold screams at the squad to pull themselves together and stop falling for these psychological tricks. The Amorph keeps cycling through different voices, completely disorienting a squad that already struggles to tell left from right even on a good day. Fake voices warn that the alien is invading their minds, which would be an incredibly easy break-in, while others claim all their leaders are dead. A voice sounding just like Arnold orders them to shoot anyone who speaks. Utterly lost, a panicked soldier swears out loud and begins firing his weapon completely at random. Stray fire hits Arnold, badly wounding his arm. Suddenly, he catches a shadow leaping past. He swings his plasma gun blindly, trying to catch the creature off guard. The blast actually grazes the beast, but it slips away. Suddenly, the flesh on its back tears open, unleashing two massive wings to take flight. It strikes Arnold from above. Paralyzed with shock, Arnold can only watch as those massive jaws snap shut, taking his head clean off. His lifeless body drops to the floor. Talk about a brutal twist. With a simple mind game, the beast easily eliminates its greatest threat. The elite risk management leader is dead, looking like he couldn't even manage a coin toss. The remaining soldiers are hopelessly lost inside. Panic scrambles their minds as the beast quietly stalks closer, preparing to wipe them out next. A lone survivor spins around, only to see his leader's severed head dripping in the creature's jaws. Mercifully, the beast spares him, slipping back into the ventilation shaft. It wishes it could savor the meal, but time is running short. Sensing danger, it flees the control room. Captain Samuel finally arrives, screaming at his men for taking so long. The trembling guards apologize. Samuel barks orders to clean up the horrific mess immediately. Meanwhile, the temporary medical chief approaches with a very grim update. He reports that all casualties are accounted for. When Samuel asks if anyone survived the slaughter, the medic confirms there is only one left alive. The sole survivor is Wee, the research head. Samuel looks oddly proud, as if saving one person out of dozens is a victory, but Wee is currently hooked up to life support. Somehow Wee was immune to the alien's neurotoxin. Still, his severe injuries have taken his sight, smell, and taste, leaving him completely useless in a fight. Even if he pulls through, he is bound to life support forever. Terrified, the medic suggests surrendering to the space dogs, earning a deathly glare from Samuel. Samuel scoffs at the absolute cowardice, telling him to shut up and mop the deck instead of giving command advice. The captain turns to watch his men clean the blood, quietly tallying up their massive losses. At this rate, the heads of research, navigation, risk management, and even the chief cook are all dead. They are not just defenseless, they can't even get a decent meal on this ship. Realizing they stand no chance against oncoming pirates, Samuel quietly considers running away. A truly noble captain, already planning to abandon ship before anyone else. Suddenly, a soldier calls him over, pointing out a weapon left on the floor. It is heavy duty, clearly belonging to someone of high rank. Samuel orders him to retrieve the plasma rifle Arnold left behind. Looking closely, he notices there is still 60% charge left, enough for self-defense, or at least enough to fake being in control. Samuel has nobody left to trust but himself, which is terrifying since he barely trusts himself. With the beast still roaming the decks, he must stay alert. He walks off, pretending to calculate his next move. Nearby, the creature hisses in pain, quite pleased with itself for taking out the leadership. Acidic green blood drips onto the floor as the beast prepares its next move. He is not too worried about the captain, knowing it will take time for Team A1 to report the issue, so he decides to use this window to expand his nest. Currently, he only has 3 spots to choose from. Since his first nest is in the cooling chamber, he needs 2 more locations. The cafeteria is absolute priority because food is the ultimate key to survival. If he contaminates their rations, he cuts off their lifeline. Next is the armory to deal with that plasma launcher. He has to neutralize that dangerous weapon before the crew can turn it against him. Otherwise, he will be completely defenseless against its massive firepower. He snorts at the thought of being outgunned, realizing he must also reach the lab. It is packed with various DNA samples and valuable psionium. The only issue is that he has less than a 10% chance of extracting any new abilities from those genetic samples, but with psionium alone, he can finally evolve into his juvenile form. That way, he will be ready for space pirates or any other threat. Still, he grumbles at the low odds. Making his choice, the monster heads for the cafeteria first, then the lab. As he crawls through the metallic vents, his thoughts drift back to what Arnold said about his master. Yu Jin, what if that master joins forces with the pirates, or even slips aboard disguised as one of them? The thought irritates him so much that he lets out an angry hiss. Honestly, he is actually starting to feel uneasy about this mysterious foe. He has to scavenge every resource and expand his nests. Meanwhile, crawling nearby, the pink slime number 26 communicates through telepathic waves, sounding surprisingly cheerful. It makes sense, given that all laboratory testing has stopped due to the chaos on board. The monster scoffingly notes how happy the little slime sounds. He pings back, asking if it finally feels good, and the blob happily responds that without any painful injections, it feels amazing. The monster notes how incredibly rare it is for humans to pause their cruel tests. Right now, they must be completely occupied with securing the bridge and mapping out their next move. The monster scoffs at their desperation, wondering if he should make an even bolder move, like securing another nest or stealing more supplies. But just as he crawls ahead, the red emergency lights flash and sirens blare. His entire body freezes and, for a brief moment, he looks exactly like a deer caught in headlights. Except this particular deer has razor-sharp claws, massive wings, and a terrible attitude. He mutters a quiet curse, utterly annoyed that mere humans managed to startle him with cheap strobe lights and alarms. Under the red glow, number 26 pings to ask what he is doing. He calmly replies that he is waiting. The slime, naturally confused, asks what exactly they are waiting for. The monster just chuckles at how oblivious his pink sidekick is. He realizes it has been about 30 minutes since the alarms started, yet not a single soul has arrived. This is all the proof he needs that stealth is no longer necessary. He pops open the lab vent and drops down like a rock star, executing a perfect, dramatic landing right in front of number 26. Staring at his old friend, he notes its vibrant, bubblegum pink color. It looks remarkably healthy, almost like a piece of candy, but if it remains trapped inside that tank, it will eventually starve. He decides to free the little guy. Unlike humans, this blob is not a picky eater and is completely immune to his toxic slime, meaning it can live in his new nest and tag along wherever he goes. He asks number 26 if it wants to escape. The slime admits it has no clue where to go, but it absolutely hates being locked in this glass prison. The amorph chuckles, telling it to brace for impact. With a sudden burst of speed, he rams headfirst into the containment tank, shattering it instantly. Glass rains down as the life support fluids flood the floor. He scoots the pink blob up, walking casually over the sharp shards as the slime eagerly thanks him. He sets the slime down, telling it to hang tight. The little pink blob bounces with curiosity, asking what comes next. The amorph explains that he is about to do some serious remodeling. He sprays his corrosive neurotoxins in every direction, painting the entire laboratory in a glowing, eerie green slime. By the time he is finished converting the room into his brand new nest, any human trying to reclaim it will be too busy vomiting from the toxic stench. With the room fully secured, a sudden wave of hunger hits him. He reaches into a specimen jar, grabbing a preserved brain. He bites right into it, realizing the tissue is still twitching with life, though the flavor is incredibly bland. Still, food is food, so he gulps it down while silently complaining that humans really need to season their gray matter. He rips off a piece for number 26, who slurps it up with terrifying excitement. The monster just watches, thinking his little buddy has absolutely zero standards. Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps echoes outside. The amorph glares at the sliding doors as they open, revealing an armed soldier accompanied by a visibly trembling researcher. The monster genuinely wonders why the crew only sent 2 sacrifices into this slimy disaster zone. Honestly, even a full squad would not stand a chance. The pink blob quickly scrambles up his shoulder as the intruders freeze in absolute horror, staring at the green, organic slime veining across the walls. Taking advantage of their shock, the amorph slips behind the soldier, but the guard's instincts actually kick in. He whirls around and blindly fires his rifle. But our alien protagonist easily dodges the bullets with incredible grace, a testament to the combat experience he farmed from thrashing Arnold earlier. Closing the distance, he grabs the soldier's vest and drives a brutal claw straight into his stomach. The body collapses to the floor, blood pooling across the green slime. The monster then turns his cold gaze to the scientist. The man immediately bursts into tears, weeping and begging for mercy, as if a deadly predator cares about his sob story. He grips the researcher's skull. But the little slime bubbles up, identifying this exact human as the tormentor who gave it painful daily injections. Surprised by the blob's grudge, the amorph decides to share the kill. He strikes the scientist's neck, leaving him paralyzed and twitching on the floor as the venom takes hold. He places his pink sidekick directly in front of the helpless target, and the slime wastes no time. It wraps around the man's head, slowly dissolving his flesh in the most excruciating way possible. The monster watches, wondering if a quick claw to the gut was better than winning the terrible prize of a face-melting acid bath. Ultimately, he shrugs it off, dead is dead, and dinner is dinner. He and the slime happily feast on their grotesque buffet when a cheerful notification chime breaks the silence. A holographic screen flashes before him, declaring that his evolutionary target has been met. He can now unlock massive physical upgrades, making him drastically stronger. The monster considers himself incredibly lucky. Evolving has never been this easy, no heavy grinding required. Suddenly, another blue window materializes. It is a system alert informing him of a new specialization pathway. The screen asks if he wants to activate physical enhancement. The alien pauses to contemplate his options. After all, he has consumed over 500 different DNA samples, only to receive 3 measly traits. He is still bitter about that terrible drop rate, but unlocking a specialization this early is a massive win. Should he activate it right now or hold off for a dramatic reveal? While deciding, he scoops up the pink blob, letting out a series of clicking noises to tell it to wait a moment. The slime tilts to the side like a confused puppy but sits quietly. The alien taps the screen, and instantly his muscles begin to swell, his limbs stretching and thickening with raw power. Muscle fibers tear and rebuild as his transformation completes. The pink blob watches in pure awe, its eyes practically sparkling as it bounces in circles, squeaking the word big. The alien clicks back, letting his companion know he is now fully grown. The blob pauses, utterly bewildered, and asks what that even means. The amorph explains that it means transitioning from a baby to an adult. The pink blob nods slowly, suddenly calling him baby. After that, it bounces around, thrilled by his new look. The alien considers the word. Technically, as a larva, he really is biologically immature, meaning the little creature is actually right. For a moment, he admits this slimy thing is pretty smart. He promises to explain everything once it learns some real words. Now he reviews his upgraded form. His height has completely shot up, towering over his past self. Thick biological armor now wraps his arms and legs like natural power armor. Those legs look like they definitely never skipped leg day thanks to the major strength boost. He checks the status menu to see his brand new traits. The screen lists natural recovery, saw blade tentacles, and a contamination organ. His flashing status reads, unknown hostile alien larva stage. His goal is simple survival. Meanwhile, natural recovery has fused with strong vitality to evolve into full regeneration. He smirks, it all looks great, but there is a catch. This specialization penalty is pretty annoying. Back in the game Amoeba, type unlocks were unlimited, but the price doubled every single time. If he took psychic skills first, the physical cost would have jumped from 10 to 20 points. That would be brutal in a normal game, but in this real-life nightmare, overthinking is useless. He decides to save the next unlock for later and put his brand new skills to the test. Armed with heavy armor and deadly traits, the crew stands zero chance. Suddenly, razor-sharp tentacles erupt from his hands like a secret built-in weapon. But at first glance, they look pretty weak, bending around and hanging loose like cheap plastic straws. He whips them against a metal wall, barely leaving a dent. But wait, watch what happens when the physical buff kicks in. Those floppy straws instantly harden into terrifying, razor-sharp steel-slicing blades. It is time to test the contamination organ. The alien drops down on all fours like a hunting beast, and a thick, toxic green mist begins to creep from his skin. Corrosive spores hiss as they hit the floor. With just this single power, he could easily turn this entire spaceship into his personal slaughterhouse. Satisfied with his new weapons, the monster gets ready to move. The little pink blob hops right behind him, squeaking to ask where they are going. He chirps back that they are hitting the cargo hold next. Soon, absolute chaos erupts. Panicked crew members sprint through the corridors screaming that a monster is on the loose. One frantic man holds a heavy blast door open, screaming at everyone to move their legs. As the last few squeeze inside, he barks the order to seal it. Another guy completely loses his mind, sobbing that they are all dead anyway. Fed up with the panic, the leader kicks him out of the way. He slams the lever down, but just as the door slides shut, massive clawed fingers jam into the gap. With a deafening metal screech, the alien tears it wide open, covered in blood. The remaining crew collapse, completely frozen in terror. They scream for mercy, begging for their lives, but the predator does not hesitate. He leaps forward, shredding through flesh with absolute ease. Agonized screams echo through the compartment as blood splatters the walls. A few survivors try to run, but they are too slow. The alien hunts them down until only silence remains. Nothing but dripping gore is left behind. Once again, the ship goes dead silent. Meanwhile, inside a medical bay, a wounded man lies trapped inside a recovery pod with an oxygen mask. His face is completely mangled, barely recognizable. Strapped down, his mind wanders in agonizing torment, wondering what horrible sins he committed to deserve this. He wishes death would just take him. Suddenly, faint footsteps echo nearby. A tiny spark of hope flares, maybe help has arrived. But as his swollen eye slowly opens, absolute horror sets in. It is not a savior. The monster stands right there, calmly tapping on the terminal. The man freezes in terror. Then, the little pink blob crawls onto the pod and slowly slides over his face like living slime. He thrashes around, but the straps hold him tight as his face begins to burn like acid. He silently begs for someone to kill him, but no one is coming, for 3 long hours. The agonizing feast continues. The blob finally detaches itself, looking full and happy. The alien asks if it is done eating, and the creature chirps in response. Did it feel good getting revenge? He asks, the blob just tilts its body in confusion. The alien explains that revenge means consuming those who hurt you, but the blob simply chirps that the food was delicious. It seems number 26 does not get the concept of revenge yet. Maybe it is just too young. Still, he remembers how obsessed the ship researchers were with it. What if it evolves into a terrifying sea demon? Those planetary monsters grow over 25 meters long, packed with giant hidden tentacles. Back in the game, they looked almost identical to basic bubble amoebas. Most players assumed the game devs were just lazy and recycled the same asset. But in this terrifying reality, that resemblance might point to a far more horrifying truth. The pink blob stretches, letting out a sleepy squeak. It tiredly climbs onto the alien's shoulder, and he lets it rest. Glancing around, he sees his alien nest is expanding beautifully. Corrosive slime is already crawling up the walls like deadly ivy. His passive skills are doing all the heavy lifting, but the hunt is far from over. There are still survivors hiding on this ship. Claws primed and spores ready, he leaves to hunt down his next target. Meanwhile, over in the Draw Cartel territory, lawless chaos is everyday life. Brutal space pirates do whatever they please. Ignoring the desperate screams, if any poor soul tries to play the hero and defend his family, he gets a swift blade to the spine. Chivalry is definitely dead out here. The victims are left utterly defenseless while these thugs plunder everything in sight. With zero shame, they bark orders to execute the men and drag the crying survivors away. Proudly chanting the savage creed of the Draw Cartel, their boss lounges back on a pile of treasure with a smug grin while his goons run wild, no matter how much people beg. They do not care. Now get a load of this captain. He is actually yawning, thinking all this screaming is just boring rookie stuff. Surrounded by gold, he looks completely unimpressed. He clearly wishes he were anywhere else. Suddenly, a captured nobleman confronts him, screaming how he could betray them like this, especially since they were the ones who hired them for protection. Instead, the mercenaries mutinied, but crying about fair play means absolutely nothing to heavily armed space pirates. The lion captain just laughs, calling him an idiot for thinking they were buddies. Only a fool expects loyalty from mercenaries you hired off the street. Furious, the nobleman resorts to empty threats, yelling that the system defense fleet is already on its way. Once the authorities pick up their emergency beacon, every single pirate will be put to death. His desperate threats just hang in the air. The captain simply scratches his ear, completely unfazed. Spitting with rage, the captive starts hurling curses just to vent his anger. Execution is too merciful, he screams. They deserve to be turned into disgusting, mutated freaks to match their souls. The lion captain slowly stands up, taking a heavy blade from his guard. He walks down toward the trembling aristocrat, telling him that he clearly does not understand the pirate code. So he decides to give him a quick lesson. He grabs the noble by the hair, dragging him up, whispering that while mutiny during a contract is technically a major crime in their line of work, that rule only applies if there are survivors left to tell the tale. He needs to wake up and smell the blood, because no rescue fleet is going to save them if there is. No one left to complain. The terrified noble stammers, asking if he plans to slaughter everyone on board. The lion examines his sharp blade, smiling as he says his favorite hobby is skinning his victims alive. With a swift, brutal slash, he strikes the screaming noble. Agonized shrieks fill the corridors as the mercenaries begin their ruthless purge of the entire vessel. He grabs his head. He hauls the captain up, growling that betraying a client is a major crime for a mercenary. But honestly, it does not even matter since no witnesses will survive to prove it. The captain needs to wake up. He needs to understand the situation properly. The defense guards cannot help him because they are all about to be wiped out. Terrified, the captain asks if he plans to slaughter everyone on board. The lion boss stares at his weapon, casually mentioning that his favorite hobby is skinning people alive. With a swift slash, he strikes the captain down as desperate screams echo through the halls. The entire Megacob crew is wiped out. Bored with the chatter, the lion orders his crew to go fetch Manu. The pirate rushes off to obey, tripping over his own feet in excitement. The lion boss sighs in deep frustration, surrounded by complete fools. But then, the pirate returns with the researcher he has been waiting for. Manu enters, looking utterly terrified of the boss. She fidgets nervously under his intense gaze, looking as though one wrong step might get her crushed. The boss looks down at her and asks about the special work she was supposed to handle. She hesitates before admitting they were supposed to meet a contact, but the person suddenly went completely off the grid. This news immediately triggers the lion's temper, sending him into a rage. The girl shrieks at the booming volume of his voice. He demands a proper explanation, and she quickly obeys, sweating from pure anxiety, desperate not to push his buttons any further. She explains that a request came from a research vessel led by Captain Samuel, asking them to dispose of a body. Hearing that name, the boss growls, his sharp teeth bared in annoyance. He mutters, wondering what Samuel is doing out in space. While Manu wonders if they have a history, the boss barks, asking whose body Samuel wants them to dispose of. Manu nervously reveals that it is a woman from the prestigious Eugene family. The boss's eye twitches as she explains that during their last call, a massive reward was promised. Hearing about the hefty price, the boss sighs heavily, cursing the elite bastards under his breath. He starts piecing the puzzle together, convinced that Captain Samuel must be hiding a massive secret. Things inside Megacop have felt off lately. Rumors say the Ascertin family, the rising power of Mars, is actively challenging the Eugene family, who have ruled Earth for a very long time. The Ascertins usually focus on building massive spaceships and battleships, but they have secretly been dabbling in DNA modification. Having even one body from the Eugene family would change the game. They could run endless genetic experiments with that DNA. If he can snatch the body and sell it to the Ascertins, he will make a fortune off their secret power struggle. He could demand any price he wants for a prize like that. He grins, imagining himself becoming the richest mercenary in the galaxy, practically smelling the mountain of cash coming his way. Slouching on his throne, the boss fumes about how the Ascertins turned him into a Hulk mutant. He grumbles, calling them incompetent fools for ever trying a stunt like that. But business is business. He must put his personal grudges aside for now, unlike the brainless lackeys scuttling around his ship like lost rats. He turns to Manu, asking if she means Captain Samuel is unreachable. Could they have been ambushed? Manu just shrugs helplessly. The boss scoffs, annoyed that they were sneaking around his territory. He shakes his head at the absolute nerve of these overconfident fools. His plan is simple. Once they secure their current prize, they will hunt down Samuel's ship next. With a loud roar, he orders his crew to prepare for the hunt. The pirates scramble into action. He demands they blow up their current vessel, leaving absolutely no trace of their presence behind. The mercenaries escape on a shuttle as the main ship detonates in a massive explosion. Far away, the Amorph senses the blast, scanning the surrounding space through his telepathic link network. He realizes these invaders are drilling right through the research vessel's hull. Recognizing the emblem on their ship, he smiles. It is the Space Dog mercenaries. They carve a neat circle into the hull using a laser cutter, likely feeling proud for a whole 3 seconds. Then, the pirates begin pouring inside, completely clueless. They have no idea that the real predator is watching their every move. The Amorph tracks the mercenaries, unsure whether to laugh at their stupidity or ignore them. Any normal crew would have noticed the ship is covered in glowing green vines, waving like a massive warning sign, but these guys just march right in anyway. They are like rabid dogs chasing a bone, blinded by absolute greed. The Amorph quietly laughs, thinking their obsession with this green-infested ship is going to be their downfall. As they venture deeper, the green slime gets thicker. They radio their boss, boasting that they have already secured the bridge, but their smug attitude quickly turns into sheer horror. There are no humans left inside, only grotesque, slimy alien trees exhaling a thick, toxic gas. Back on the main ship, the lion boss completely loses his temper at the report. He fumes, screaming that trees floating in deep space is a ridiculous joke, but when his crew insists it is real, he decides to stomp over to the vessel himself. He mutters that he needs to see this stupidity with his own eyes, warning them that if they are lying, he will skin them alive. Meanwhile, the Amorph uses his sensory waves. He scans the mercenaries invading his territory, quickly detecting powerful, engineered hearts and heavy cybernetic machinery. Recognizing the massive Lion Hulk mutant as the leader, he examines the others. He spots an insect man spewing pheromones and a cyborg with a shiny mechanical heart trying to look tough. The Amorph just smirks, knowing how easy this is going to be. Taking down this ragtag group will finally give him enough energy to evolve into a juvenile. Before, he struggled to hunt down 10 targets from 2 completely different alien species. But now, a delicious buffet of poorly designed warriors is practically begging to be eaten. Their ridiculous looks make him want to laugh as he gets ready for a feast. Among them, he spots an ordinary human girl. He wonders how someone so plain ended up with space pirates. Yet, she feels different, like her mind is a supercomputer. He makes a mental note to keep a close eye on her, genuinely curious if she is a genius or just extremely lucky. Turning away, he begins to move. The little bubble amoeba bounces around, asking where he is going. He tells the tiny creature to stay put, pointing at the plasma launcher and ordering it to guard the device. The bubble amoeba bounces with excitement, promising to protect the device. The Amorph thinks that if this tiny blob is smarter than half these pirates, the universe is truly broken. He stomps out of the room, muttering that he will have to teach these fools a harsh lesson. In his world, brains might be optional, but sharp teeth certainly are not. He refines his plan, loving how completely off guard the enemy is right now. They are likely too busy drooling over shiny loot. This is his perfect chance to strike. He can cut off their escape route entirely by destroying their ship's power source. Since they are greedy, they will definitely try to save both the research data and their ride home. His pace quickens as he imagines them splitting up. One group will be busy looting, while the other pretends to guard the place. That is exactly when he will strike. The Amorph cracks open the door to their ship and slips inside. He finds it incredibly strange that they do not have a single security system active on their vessel. But he shrugs it off. They are just arrogant pirates. Confident in their power, they would never expect that they are actually the ones being hunted in the dark. He has no intention of getting robbed. Wandering deeper into the vessel, he uses detection waves to locate the nuclear reactor. His scan sweeps the ship, and everything looks surprisingly good. Well, except for those android security guards. He might need to sneak past them to avoid detection, but his stomach starts talking before his brain can even think. He is already salivating. He needs food. Now, sprinting down the ship bridge, he suddenly freezes at the sound of approaching footsteps. Peeking around the corner, he spots two pirates, one human and one insect man. Both are completely clueless. They are about to become his next snack. Seriously, pirate hiring standards must be absolute trash. The beast quietly creeps closer to the human. Before the poor guy even realizes he is there, a sharp claw slices his head clean off. The insect man just stares in total confusion, trying to process what just happened. Sudden chaos. The bug fumbles wildly with a remote in his hands, slamming buttons in pure terror. But the monster is too fast, ripping his arm off before he can send a signal. Clearly, multitasking is not a pirate's strength. The creature slams his head into the insect man, striking from every angle until the pirate is reduced to a trembling, broken mess. One final strike. He rips off his head, silencing his last scream for help. The beast feasts on the crunchy bug meat, but this meal does absolutely nothing for his evolution. Unfortunately, these two were just low-level targets. He picks up the dropped remote from the floor, hearing a crackling voice on the other end demanding to know why there is no response. He mimics the bug's voice flawlessly. He claims everything is fine. This only infuriates the human on the line, who screams louder, telling him to answer quicker and stop slacking off. Sliding the door open, he slips further inside, realizing he does not even have to fight the security robot. He scans the area, curious to see how the machine will react. He secretes a corrosive toxin from his hands. The acid instantly melts through thick metal plates. He smirks, knowing this dumb machine is completely helpless when things go off script. He pours more acid into the breach, destroying the engine so completely that the humans will never run it again. They cannot even step inside. Meanwhile, the mercenary crew is busy watching. They review the security footage, desperately trying to piece together what went wrong, but all they find are terrifying clips of people weeping and screaming in sheer panic. Some beg for backup, while others shriek about a monster clawing through the doors. They search for the captain and their leaders, but those guys are already dead. Some completely lose their minds. They spiral into madness, realizing they are never getting out of this alive. It is honestly wild how quickly humans go from arrogant hunters to weeping victims. Pure terror is plastered across the pirates' faces as they watch the brutal fate of the crew. They see the beast tearing open reinforced doors, devouring people in the most gruesome ways. Their leader is also frozen in shock, wondering what kind of nightmare this is. Strange green plants cover the entire interior. There is not a single living soul left, like a ghost ship. He orders his crew to rewind the footage, but the playback only brings more confusion. The screens show dismembered bodies, while those left intact seem to have completely lost their sanity. Nobody on board is left in one piece. Demanding answers, the boss instructs his technician to search even further back in the logs to see how this whole disaster first started. He watches the skirmish in the ventilation shafts, spotting Arnold and assuming he was leading the defense. Captain Samuel is there too. He realizes the ship command structure was already falling apart. They were already panicking during the initial clash. Then, he watches the monster drop from the ceiling, lunging straight at the research director, Wee. The mercenary leader stares closely. He quickly realizes this creature is highly intelligent and extremely lethal. especially since it managed to take down Arnold. Initially, he was just anxious about handling the Eugene family. But now his main concern is securing that corpse and getting it back to his vessel. He barks a command at Manu, who is currently staring blankly at the screen, completely lost in shock. He yells her name again, snapping her out of her daze, and demands to know exactly when they lost contact with Samuel's ship. Shaking, she replies that communication cut out yesterday. They were supposed to rendezvous then, but the vessel never showed up, forcing them to search for a full day. The leader ponders this, trying to piece the clues together. However, the main issue is his complete lack of data on this organism. Yet, he remains incredibly confident, smirking, because they managed to board this ghost ship without any resistance. They invaded the beast's territory with ease. He barks orders to his crew, telling them to hunt down the target, wipe it out, retrieve the asset, and get out. Suddenly, a subordinate interrupts with bad news. When the boss demands to know what is wrong, the man stutters, revealing that their own ship's engine has completely failed. It looks as though it completely melted. Instantly connecting the dots, the furious boss slams his fist onto the table, swearing to rip the beast apart. He marches over to Manu. He roars her name. Terrified, she nods quickly. When he orders her to get the systems online, she hesitates for a second, but his murderous glare makes her agree instantly. The lion mutant growls. He points to 3 terrified men to assist her, ordering the rest of his crew to follow him and hunt this thing down. He issues a stark warning to the team. Anyone who lags behind will be left as bait. Meanwhile, the monster tracks their movements using his detection waves, finding the whole situation hilarious. They have no clue what they are walking into. There are about 20 survivors still hiding on board, including the captain and officers. He did not spare them out of kindness, though. He needs them alive to clash with the pirates. His goal is to exploit the absolute stupidity of both factions. This is his master plan, and he is thoroughly enjoying every dumb mistake they make. Currently, 3 pirates and a woman are stationed in the control room, presenting a perfect target, but the creature hesitates, wrinkling his nose. His instincts warn him that this woman is no ordinary pirate. She might be Arnold's master, a thought that actually makes him cautious. He recalls Arnold describing his master as a quirkless monster, and he cannot help but smirk at the irony. He might finally face someone who can give him a real challenge. Analyzing her closely, she appears to be a genetically modified human. She does not look flashy at first glance. But the beast knows better than to underestimate these corporate elites, obsessed with life extension tech. She is likely heavily upgraded under the hood. If she is modified, she might be even tougher than an enhanced Kisaragi Eugene. That thought actually thrills him. At last, a worthy adversary. A powerful enemy is dangerous, sure, but it is also incredibly fun. For now, he keeps an eye on her and targets the 3 pirates first. The grunts creep forward in total terror, but they are not scared of the hidden monster. They are absolutely terrified of their leader marching behind them, teeth gritted, radiating pure bloodlust. Suddenly, one of the scanners starts beeping. A pirate musters the courage to look down. He reports that the life sign detector has picked up humans inside the vessel. This news does not exactly please the leader. The pirate explains that the signal originates from the captain's quarters, but the corridor is blocked, meaning they must drill through a nearby wall. The boss snarls, calling him an idiot, making the subordinate flinch. Cracking his knuckles, the boss asks, with heavy sarcasm, if he needs permission to use the restroom too. The grunt does not hesitate, instantly sprinting to start drilling as if his life depends on it. The boss merely sighs. He is pretty frustrated. Once the drilling wraps up, the pirate boss kicks open the heavy metal gate and storms inside to check his biological detector. But he is way too busy fiddling with it when a punch lands right in the other pirates dive for cover, while the boss just stomps right ahead, yelling at his useless lackeys to get out of his way. He just whams and slams any human foolish enough to cross his path. Terrified humans scream as he tears through them. He runs into a researcher who instantly surrenders, but the boss does not care. He just glares and ignores the plea completely. The researcher desperately claims he is the medical team leader, insisting that keeping him alive is the smart move. The boss raises an eyebrow. He demands to know where the captain is and what they were doing in the cabin. The doctor grits his teeth, silently cursing his leader for abandoning them. Finally, he calms down and mutters that the captain ran off to steal the escape ship. Even the boss is stunned. That Samuel would be such a massive loser, ditching his own crew to run away. The doctor admits he is not even sure if the captain survived, just that he bolted. The boss sighs heavily, thinking about how completely ridiculous this whole situation has become. His ship is already wrecked by the monster, and the only human who knows where his target body is hiding has escaped on some escape pod. He suddenly eyes the doctor, realizing this guy might actually be useful, and decides to grill him. The doctor quickly spills everything. The monster apparently has the body of a noble captain. The boss slams the wall in disbelief. Why would a monster even care about a dead body? The doctor explains that the beast simply eats humans, and the boss cracks his knuckles, muttering that they do not have the luxury of time anymore. He barks orders at his lackeys, telling them to spread out in teams of 6, search for the body, and report back at the first sign of trouble. Turning back to the doctor, he raises an eyebrow and asks if he wants to join his pirate crew, noting they can always use a medic. Then he casually asks if he knows anything about genetic remodeling. The doctor puts on a fake confident smile and nods, telling him to leave everything in his hands. Meanwhile, the monster lurks nearby in the shadows, grinning at how absurd this is. Using his detection waves, he watches their every move and listens to their clueless chatter. But the beast actually feels a little disappointed because he was hoping for a long, chaotic brawl between the humans and pirates, but it ended way too fast. He can, however, respect the massive mutant leading them. He watches the pirates moving in highly predictable teams of 6, except for the boss and one lucky grunt. It is time to strike. Suddenly, the little bubble creature bounces up, begging to tag along. The monster scoffs but lets it tag along anyway. It will not be much help, but maybe it will learn that real combat is not just a game. He just has to make sure this bouncy little nuisance does not ruin his perfect plans. He picks up the amoeba and plops it onto his shoulder, warning it to stay alert because these enemies are pretty dangerous. And the little thing immediately nods as if it actually understands. He strides toward the armory, knowing it is the absolute best spot to stage his first ambush on the pirates, who are currently hacking their way through everything. An insect mutant sighs in disbelief at the dense jungle around them. Meanwhile, the pirates complain about clearing the thick plants just to set up their plasma cutter. One of them slices a plant, and thick green goo suddenly sprays all over him. He gags and flails in panic while the rest just stand there, completely stunned. One pirate finally snaps out of it and screams at the others to stop staring at the plants and help. But suddenly, a burst of toxic gas explodes, and one poor guy shrieks out, crying that his face is literally melting off. He collapses as his body rapidly dissolves. Before the horrified crew can even process this disaster, heavy footsteps echo from the shadows, and out steps the terrifying monster. The pirates freeze in pure horror, but quickly decide to fight back. They open fire, unleashing a barrage of bullets right at him. But their attacks simply bounce off his tough armor. The beast charges forward, slicing through the squad like wet paper. Soon, only the trembling insect mutant is left standing, still swinging wild punches as if he actually has a shot. Suddenly, the bubble amoeba leaps onto his face, completely engulfing it and dissolving his head into a gooey blob. The monster grins at the neat handiwork. Nearby, another survivor desperately screams into his radio, begging for backup, but before he can finish, the beast cleanly snaps his head off. Over the radio, an anxious voice asks why everyone went silent. The beast picks up the device and perfectly mimics the dead pirate, claiming that everything is completely fine. That voice calls him crazy, and the beast mockingly apologizes. He pockets the radio, thinking it will make an excellent distraction. He then notices the melted pirate is still twitching, likely because he is a cyborg from the Star Union. They love replacing weak flesh with machinery, unlike their rivals who prefer messy genetic experiments. The beast just shrugs at humanity's weird ways of making themselves suffer. He devours the twitching cyborg anyway, finding the metallic meat surprisingly tasty. Suddenly, a familiar game notification pops up, announcing he can now evolve into a juvenile since all conditions are met. With 12 more cyborg pirates left on the ship, he can level up almost instantly. He laughs to himself at his own stroke of genius, while the little amoeba bounces in confusion. He tells the little slime that it would never understand. Then, he goes right back to hunting the remaining pirates. No matter how hard they fight back, he easily grabs their heads and pops them off. His latest victim is a tough stone mutant, and once he is finished, he counts his total tally. He has done some serious work, wiping out 2 entire squads, but he is pretty annoyed that 3 cyborg bodies got ruined in the process. One corpse looks exactly like the acid victim from the armory. All the flesh is completely dissolved, leaving nothing but cold metal legs. He decides to chew on them anyway, hoping for some stats, but when he bites down, he gets absolutely zero predation benefits. He spits the metal out in disgust, no point wasting time chewing on scrap metal. Nearby, he spots his little pet engulfing the fleshy remains of another pirate, but right before the cyborg dies, the beast stabs him to secure the kill experience for himself. The amoeba looks up, wondering why he is being so greedy. He explains that he must eat the half-metal parts for his evolution, while the little guy can feast on whatever is left behind. This happy little blob has no complaints and cheerfully glides off to find another snack. Still, the beast feels slightly guilty for stealing the little bubble's meal, so he quickly grabs another target. As he prepares to take a bite, he notices a weird communication device strapped to the corpse's arm. A frantic voice static crackles through, demanding a status update. At the same time, the ship's control center reports they are still searching, while cargo team members ping the boss as well. The monster decide to play along, perfectly mimicking the dead pirate's voice to report that they are currently searching the armory. With the lie delivered, he munches down on his meal. On the other end, the boss suddenly screams at the laboratory team to answer their comms. The monster had completely forgotten about them and grabs his stolen radio to assure the boss that they are doing just fine, but the boss immediately senses something is off, noticing the voice does not belong to the squad leader. The beast needs a quick excuse, so he claims the leader is busy clearing out some debris. Luckily, the boss buys the story. That giant mutant boss is not exactly a genius, but the beast still needs to be pretty careful. He keeps a close eye on the creature, still shocked that he is actually hanging out with a bubble amoeba. If the gaming community ever found out, they would absolutely lose their minds. The Amorph always plays solo. Even in his real life, he was never friendly, so cooperating with another creature is a huge shock. This playthrough is completely different from everything he remembers about the game. It is exciting, but it also makes him incredibly nervous about what lies ahead. Meanwhile, the pirate captain, a massive lion humanoid, is growing highly suspicious. His strict military background makes him obsessed with order, and even his lackeys can feel the tension. He simply cannot comprehend how anyone would risk breaking their protocol. His sharp beast instincts scream that this entire setup is a trap. He quickly rounds up the other mercenaries, leaving out the laboratory staff, and gives them a stern warning. He tells them something is seriously wrong, ordering the whole squad to the lab. Then, he confronts the doctor, demanding to be shown the escape ships and the main engine room. The doctor has no choice but to lead the way. The captain refuses to let this monster escape alive after wrecking his beloved vessel. His plan is simple: secure a path out, then blow up the entire engine deck. Once he escapes, the massive blast will tear the warship to shreds, burying the beast in a fiery grave. But that means sacrificing a good chunk of his own crew. He is not too worried, since there are always plenty of desperate recruits waiting to take their place. He only needs to secure Manuel and the doctor. Once they are safe, the rest can burn. The scientist leads them deeper into the warship. The captain demands to know if the beast has any weak points, since the scientist has been studying it. The doctor just shrugs, claiming it has none, which instantly infuriates the captain. Even the escorting pirate presses a weapon against him, demanding a real answer. The doctor quickly admits he has never seen it show vulnerability. The boss knows the scientist is too terrified to lie, but he fails to realize the man is far more frightened of the Amorph when they push him further about its terrifying abilities. The doctor finally spills everything. It glides through the darkness like a phantom, devours grown men in seconds, and leaves absolutely nothing behind. When the attacks first started, they did not even realize people were disappearing until it was far too late. The boss scoffs, claiming the crew was just incredibly stupid, but the doctor desperately shakes his head, reminding him that the vessel is packed with advanced security systems, too many to even count. Yet the creature slipped past every single sensor to hunt down its prey. The captain stares at his radio, absorbing the grim warning, and immediately decides to gather all his remaining forces. He keys the channel, announcing a sudden shift in their strategy. He orders every squad to fall back and regroup at a single location before they dare to approach the laboratory. Eavesdropping on the frequency, the monster listens to the command. It turns out this pirate captain has a decent brain. He did not fall for the mimicry trick that fooled the others. Perhaps those wild feline instincts gave him a timely warning, or maybe he just got incredibly lucky. But let us be real, it is already too late. He watches the crew, grumbling as they fall in line, but he has already devised a way to wipe them out in one go. Extending his antenna, he connects directly with the green slime coating the bulkheads. To trigger his special skill, Nest Maneuver, suddenly his mind expands through the fungal pathways, his consciousness flowing through the ship like a massive neural network, until the entire vessel essentially becomes an extension of his own body. The mercenary squads freeze as the thick slime on the walls begins to pulsate, releasing a strange, swirling dust. These highly toxic spores instantly paralyze anyone who inhales them. Within moments, the pirates are gasping for air. They try to run, but there is absolutely nowhere to hide from the airborne poison. The toxic cloud fills every single hallway. One by one, the mercenaries collapse to the deck, completely immobilized. The monster is thrilled to see how effective his new ability is now that he has matured. He only tested it out of sheer curiosity, not expecting such immediate and devastating results. However, maintaining this massive connection is still incredibly difficult for his developing mind. A wave of intense dizziness hits him, leaving him completely drained and starving from the massive energy drain. The little amoeba hops onto his shoulder, chirping with curiosity about where they are headed next. It is probably hoping for an adventure, or at least a decent meal. The beast motions for his companion to follow him to the buffet, dragging several paralyzed pirates across the floor. He sinks his razor-sharp teeth into their flesh, tearing them apart while marveling at how easily these humans abandon their comrades. Not that he is complaining, since it makes his dinner much easier. Eating without a struggle is always a plus. The bubble amoeba happily joins the feast, likely wondering why these fleshy creatures are so delicious. The monster opens his status menu to check his progress. Out of the 7 targets he just consumed, 5 turned out to be heavily modified cyborgs. Excellent. He only needs to absorb 2 more of them, and his next evolution phase will finally unlock. He is incredibly close to reaching his next major stage. The remaining 5 survivors have barricaded themselves inside the training hall, leaving him to wonder why they chose that specific dead end. Perhaps they falsely believed a larger room would give them a fighting chance. Unfortunately for them, the previous crew made the exact same mistake, turning their final sanctuary into a bloody slaughterhouse. Standing outside the heavy door, he can easily sense their panicked breathing and spike in pheromones. They are probably terrified by the massive pile of butchered bodies stacked inside. The little amoeba scales up to his shoulder again, prompting the monster to warn his tiny companion to stay back before the real violence starts. Not that these weaklings pose any actual threat. As he slowly forces the heavy door open, he reflects on the 20 lives he already took. Adding 5 more to his tally will be effortless. The metal door completely shatters as he lunges inside. The terrified survivors immediately open fire, unleashing a hail of lead, but the predator simply walks straight through the oncoming barrage. Their desperate attacks cannot even scratch his incredibly dense armor plating. The pirates begin to panic and swear, screaming in frustration as their high-caliber rounds bounce harmlessly off his hide. Realizing guns are useless, one brave mercenary draws an advanced melee weapon and charges. He sprints forward, shouting at the top of his lungs, trying to intimidate the alien beast. He boasts that he is the second in command of the notorious Draw Cartel, refusing to be slaughtered by some nameless space pest. He swings his weapon wildly, challenging the monster to face him head-on. His high-frequency sonic blade actually crackles with enough power to pierce the beast's thick armor. However, even the deadliest weapon is useless in the hands of an incompetent amateur. That seems to be exactly what is happening here, as the foolish pirate swings with zero tactical discipline. The monster lunges forward, his massive jaws wide open, ready to tear the man apart. The pirate swings the vibrating blade directly at his eyes, but the beast effortlessly evades the strike. With a swift counter, he rams his claws into the man's gut, sending him crashing against the steel wall. The battered pirate shivers in agony, but his fierce pride keeps him from backing down. Gritting his teeth, he raises his blade for one final, desperate swing. The beast is genuinely surprised by his sheer grit. This is the first warrior since Arnold to show such suicidal courage in a straight-up fight. Granting him a quick death, the monster drives his claw through his skull, ending his suffering instantly. Before he feels any more pain, the pirate collapses in defeat. The monster coldly moves on. He heads toward the 4 remaining pirates hiding in the locker room, but once his meal is finished, a familiar game screen pops up right in front of him, leaving him completely baffled. This time he unlocked a strange new trait called human nature. He has absolutely no idea what it actually does and honestly doesn't want to overthink it, feeling pretty skeptical from the start. He has no clue if this skill is even useful. None at all. Space survival has tons of traits. But definitely not all of them are good. Take the Hulk mutant trait. It doubles your raw physical power, but completely strips away your sanity. Sometimes the drawbacks are just flat out deadly. And get this, there is absolutely no way to tell if a trait is a blessing or a curse until you accept it. This entire universe is a brutal dystopia. You have the Star Union turning living people into cold machines, and Megacob splicing genes to build horrific monsters for fun. Cruel factions like those run the cosmos now. Naturally, there is no way a trait giving human qualities could be any good. In fact, it does something far worse. It amplifies human emotions, a massive nerf for an amorph that literally survives on cold intelligence. The risk is just too high, so he prepares to decline. Suddenly, a cold shiver shoots down his spine, urging him to stop. This human trait must be critical because his sensory tentacles have never forced his hand like this before. He decides to trust his raw gut instinct and accepts the new skill, but once he clicks accept, absolutely nothing happens. No physical changes, no weird growths, nothing at all. Maybe the game is just trolling him. Either way, human nature counts as a mental trait, meaning he only needs 3 more to unlock a powerful superpower enhancement type. Checking the description, it turns out human nature simply helps him make the right call whenever he is faced with a tough choice. A pretty neutral power, honestly. The monster decides to focus on the conditions he already cleared, just as his little amoeba buddy leaps over to check if he is all right. He asks the little blob if something is wrong. The pink bubble chirps that he just stopped moving out of nowhere. It is pretty ironic because that little guy shouldn't be worrying. The bubble needs to worry about its own safety. Our monster can already smell the remaining pirates scattered around the training room, and he has zero intention of letting them escape. Desperate screams echo through the halls. A yellow-haired pirate grips his weapon tight, hands shaking violently. He trembles in absolute terror, wondering if he is the next victim. He tries to convince himself he is a good guy, way better than the rest of his crew. He doesn't even know what he did to deserve this. Then, a creak. Freezing in place, he barely breathes. The monster stomps through the ship with a loud crash, sending a new wave of panic through him. Terrified, the pirate starts praying. He begs Chief Zubaka to protect him. The alien flings a nearby door open with a screech, but luckily, it walks right past his locker. The trembling pirate exhales. Deep down, he is incredibly relieved the ugly beast passed him by. He swears he will abandon the pirate life for good once this nightmare ends, peeking out through the tiny slits. He tells himself he will head straight for the Star Union once he survives. Up there, not even the vicious Draw cartel can touch him, but before he can even finish that thought, a sudden, brutal strike pierces straight through the metal wall behind him. His eyes go wide in absolute shock as a razor-sharp claw drives deep into his stomach. The claw pulls back and the alien tears the locker door off its hinges with bare hands. It lunges forward, and the pirate begs for mercy, staring down a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. Just like that, he meets a pretty brutal end. The pirate's cybernetic body hits the floor with a heavy thud, and our hungry monster begins to feast like it is a buffet. That makes 11 cyborgs devoured. He only needs 1 more meal to reach his final goal. The catch is that his final target is inside the main control room. Worse, the one person he wants to avoid is in there too, a dangerous genetic mutant from the Eugene family. Stepping away from the bloody locker, he realizes he has to deal with their leader first. Only then can he finish his feast. Suddenly, he senses a sharp shift in the air. A sudden shot blasts toward him. He barely leaps out of the way, dodging a barrage of gunfire. Standing before him is a massive lion cyborg, furious that this beast ate his entire squad. This heavy hitter is the second in command. Hanging from the ceiling, our monster stares down at them. He didn't expect the boss to deliver himself, but honestly, this works out perfectly. A powerful lion mutant has some incredible genes ripe for the taking. He can harvest this essence before heading to the control room. That's when he spots a man in a lab coat. It is the lead doctor who apparently allied with the space pirates. Not that it matters. Very soon, every single one of these fools will end up inside his stomach. Dropping down from the ceiling, he quietly tells his little pink buddy to go hide. The blob squeaks a warning to stay safe as it hops off his shoulder and bounces away. It clings to the wall, blending into the metal in seconds. Our monster slides into a combat stance, sizing up the giant lion mutant, who is easily 3 times his size. Up close, the guy is genuinely terrifying. The lion mutant stares back at him with pure disgust, like he's looking at an annoying bug. He realizes this fight won't be easy. This mutant is an advanced life form, after all, but our monster isn't backing down. He prepares for battle, eager to see what this supposed superior being can actually do. Meanwhile, a few low-level pirates watch the standoff through CCTV cameras. They wonder if they should go back up their boss. But honestly, that's just a fast track to getting crushed. The boss specifically told them to stay put and guard the terminal. One heavily modified cyborg curses his luck, having hoped to get a piece of the action. He turns to the woman next to him. He asks Manu how much longer this is going to take. Typing rapidly across the massive screen, she confirms she is almost done, though the cyborg keeps complaining about the delay. Manu explains that the tech here is prehistoric, which naturally slows things down. Think of it like trying to run apps on a phone you haven't updated in 3 years. These old systems control the entire AI of the Mechiko battleship. She starts nerding out about how advanced space engineering is, but the annoyed cyborg quickly cuts her off. He tells her to speak plain English and shut up so they can finally go assist their boss. Quietly ignoring him, Manu goes right back to tapping away at her screens. She watches the monitors intently, quietly praising Arnold for doing such a solid job. The creature tried hiding in a smoke screen, but nothing escapes her remote cameras. Looking closer, she realizes the beast actually managed to raid the entire genetics lab. It stole several valuable gene samples. It turns out the beast is surprisingly intelligent, even if it's incredibly ugly. According to the data, it only took those specific genetic strains. That means only one thing: the beast knows how to use its stolen genes. Manuel realizes it can absorb DNA and constantly evolve. Then, she reveals her own scaly lizard hand. She realizes this ugly freak is just like her. It also makes one thing very clear: Elchin, the mutant lion, does not stand a single chance. She knows that Elchin is just a mindless monster controlled by others, a simple puppet on strings. He is a miserable soul who has no clue what he is even made of. Behind her screen, Manuel smiles like a total creep. At least this serves as good news. She was getting tired of him anyway. These space pirates are useless to her, too. The only logical play left is to stop the monster from getting more genes. The pirates ask if she is finished so they can all join the battle, but when they actually look at her, their jaws drop in absolute shock. Manuel has a secret. She removes her glasses, ready for an insane makeover. Suddenly, a sharp blade slides out right from the top of her hand. Her enemies in the Mega Corp know her as the Helix Witch. Shedding her coat, she reveals her true form. The family calls her Shadow, treating her with deep respect. The head of the family, Akira Eugene, calls her Code White. Her father called her Sune. Now Manuel opens her eyes wide, teeth flashing under the lights as she glares at the trembling pirates. She is the peak of genetic engineering, the sole heir of a forgotten family lineage. Meanwhile, Elchin charges at the ugly beast and pounces, his sharp claws barely grazing the monster. The beast dodges at the very last second and reaches out. Elchin quickly raises his metal knee to block the strike. It clashes hard against the creature's hand as he jumps back into action. The creature stumbles back a few feet, but his tail hits a white capsule. A sudden electric shock jolts his body. Now, his superpower organ hurts like crazy. He did not even realize when Elchin laid this trap. Elchin stares down at him. This shock trap is meant for androids. Did the lion think he was a cyborg? Either way, it was a clever trick, but Elchin notices the trap did not finish him. Realizing this beast is not some Star Union weapon, he asks if it can understand him. Suddenly, Elchin grits his teeth. A red button digs into his skin, a literal rampage switch. He tells the beast that he purposely rigged an explosive device inside his own body. This bomb is wired straight to his heart. If the beast kills him, the explosives will detonate, blowing everyone on this spaceship to Kingdom Come. The monster knows he is not lying. The doctor's terrified face says it all. But will Elchin actually set off the bomb? The beast knows the mutant lion values his own life far too much for a suicide mission. He is highly intelligent, boasts an upgraded body, and has way too much pride. The creature simply stares at him. Elchin glares right back. There is no way he would throw away his own life. But then, Elchin presses the red button anyway. He screams in agony as his cells mutate. His bones snap and crack loudly. Growling fiercely, his lion features warp into something new. His flesh rips open, replaced by thick, stony plates as his eyes turn pitch black and tiny. He is no longer Elchin. He is a walking nightmare straight out of a dark fantasy game. Fully transformed, the beast lets out a massive roar because a dramatic transformation requires it. The alien looks at Elchin and calls him ugly. Honestly, that is pretty funny coming from a guy who desperately needs a mirror. But the alien knows gene splicing is not the only trick up Elchin's sleeve. Elchin takes a step, cracking the steel floor under his immense weight, just looking at him. The alien can tell he just absorbed mountain crawler genes. They call those beasts rock dragons due to their unbreakable armor. Elchin growls and strikes, but the alien sees a perfect opening. He is about to retaliate, but remembers the explosive device wired to Elchin's heart, stopping his attack at the very last second. Elchin takes advantage, slamming a heavy fist down. Elchin grins like he just unlocked some God mode cheat, but his smile quickly fades. The alien stares back with a creepy smirk because he already knows Elchin was aiming for his tail. Slipping away, the alien retreats while Elchin absolutely loses his mind over his slippery opponent. He screams curses, slamming his massive fists against the floor in sheer frustration. The alien is just glad his hard head survived that brutal punch. Still, he wonders why Elchin threatened him with a bomb if he was just going to try and end the fight in one shot. The alien inches closer. If this mutant wants to play dirty, he can do the exact same thing. Elchin sneers, claiming no attack will work, but the alien has a different plan. If he wants to target the heart, his options are pretty limited. Those rock plates are simply too tough to break. Only a plasma weapon could cut through that kind of defense. The alien knows victory is guaranteed if he can just bypass the armor and strike the soft flesh beneath. But Elchin anticipates this, aiming straight for the beast's tail as he charges. The alien reads his every movement. What else did you expect from that massive brain of his? Luckily, his tail is not the only deadly weapon in his arsenal. Elchin swings. But the alien easily leaps aside. He scampers up to the ceiling, crawling away with the giant hot on his heels. The alien's master plan relies on the venom in his teeth. And claws not just his tail. If he can melt that armor, he can deliver the final blow. But the biggest issue is piercing that rock-hard outer shell. That is where his trusty sonic blade comes in. Gripping the weapon, he knows he has another major advantage. Massive Hulk mutants always have one glaring weakness. He keeps running, leading the lion on a chase. He just needs to buy enough time for that weakness to kick in. He dashes into a massive room packed with metal containers, the very cargo hold where he first woke up. It is the absolute perfect place to drag out the fight. Elchin pursues him, cornering them both inside. Nearby, 2 cockroaches are hanging out on the floor as Elchin charges in screaming. His heavy footsteps send the bugs scrambling for safety. Elchin smashes headfirst into a metal container, but it barely slows him down. The roaches run for their absolute lives. Unfortunately, one poor bug gets snatched up by the alien's tail, right in front of its terrified friends. The beast snacks on it, knowing he cannot match the lion in a raw contest of strength. These massive mutants are fast, but their size is their ultimate downfall. They burn through energy far too quickly. Soon, Elchin will have no choice but to rest. Elchin tears another container open, completely unaware the alien is watching from the shadows. He just needs to rile Elchin up until his stamina is completely depleted. Once that happens, his giant body will lock up. The smartest move right now is simply to wait. Elchin continues to rip doors off their hinges, screaming curses into the empty room. He is completely losing his cool. Watching him throw a massive temper tantrum like a toddler denied candy, the alien smiles. The brute will tire out soon, but then he remembers his main problem, the bomb. Crucially, Elchin has 2 hearts. Which one is actually wired to the explosive device? Usually, these giant mutants have their primary heart on the left side of their chest. While it is likely wired there, Elchin is far too clever to make things that simple. He cannot afford a wrong guess, while the alien remains deeply lost in thought. He doesn't realize that Elchin has already spotted him. He hurls an object at the alien, who barely dodges it at the last second. Elchin pursues, but the alien is just too fast. He leaps across more containers while Elchin mocks him to run faster. But just as the alien predicted, a strange red gas leaks from Elchin's joints. His body has hit its absolute limit. Elchin slows down, but he doesn't stop completely. The alien peeks over the container, noticing something strange. Elchin hasn't given up yet. He must have modified his own body to bypass this weakness. Normally, Elchin would be completely paralyzed by now, but he keeps walking forward. Only his speed has dropped. Still, it seems those modifications couldn't fully fix his body's flaw. The alien seizes the moment, leaping straight at Elchin's exposed back. Elchin grabs a massive boulder, turning to hurl it. The alien leaps away just in time to avoid getting crushed like a bug, bouncing off the wall and landing safely on the ground. He lands a few feet away. Screaming like a total madman, Elchin punches the alien's thick head again, hoping it works this time, but the alien takes the blow, finding his perfect opening. It is time to end this fight. The alien whips out his sonic blade, slashing it directly at Elchin. Elchin's tough armor shatters right where the blade connects. Before the giant even realizes what is happening, the alien opens his jaws wide to take a massive bite out of him. Elchin shrieks in pure agony as the alien latches onto his arm like a wild beast. He flings the creature against the wall, furious that this beast actually dared to bite him. He raises his fist to crush the alien's skull, but freezes mid-strike. Elchin staggers, trembling, while the alien laughs like he just played the ultimate winning move. He acts like a genius mastermind, but he is far from it. Elchin starts shaking uncontrollably, trembling in disbelief as his entire body reacts as if having a massive panic attack. Actually, that is just the venom doing its job. Elchin collapses backward, paralyzed by a single bite. The giant falls helpless, and the alien wastes no time jumping right on top of him. The paralysis isn't quite as potent on mutants as it is on humans, but it is enough. The toxic poison spreads rapidly through Elchin's system as he begins to desperately beg for mercy. He begs the alien to help him, but the creature just flashes a creepy smile. With a whip of his tail, he strikes Elchin, making him scream. The alien tears away Elchin's hard outer armor with his bare hands. Underneath, he spots the explosive device planted right over the mutant's second heart. The countdown triggers if the device takes a heavy impact. That second heart keeps these heavy mutants stable, but Elchin was clearly planning a mutual destruction all along. He knew he was done for anyway. Safely removing this explosive will take a minute, so our alien decides to harvest some juicy mutant genetic samples first before extracting the device. While he is busy, his squishy pink sidekick calls out to him. The alien warns the little guy to stay hidden, but the blob bounces over anyway to deliver some terrible news. Before he can even look back, a sudden bolt of lightning tears through the room, shocking the alien. In an instant, his body is sliced to pieces like fresh sushi. But wait, that was just a prediction from his danger sense. Realizing what is about to happen, the alien grabs his pink blob and dives out of the way. 1 second later, a massive bolt of lightning strikes the exact spot he just left. Manuel walks into the room, looking incredibly smug and confident. She wonders how he managed to dodge her strike, realizing the beast has somehow acquired the prediction gene. Now, the very woman the alien was trying to avoid is standing right here. She is tracking him down like a relentless hunter. He stares at the blade on her hand, noting she spliced her genes with a white Gagan and other high-level creatures. On top of that, she has 100 other visible genetic modifications. In his current state, fighting her is suicide. Manuel approaches him with a slow, deadly calm. Every survival instinct in his body is screaming for him to run from whatever monster Manuel has transformed into. He needs to back away and rethink his strategy. Manuel walks over to Elchin, who is barely breathing. Recognizing her, the dying mutant weakly calls out her name. Manuel praises Elchin for a job well done, but then ruthlessly plunges her blade in to dig out the bomb from his heart. As she does, she casually speaks to the alien. She says she cannot have him running away now. The alien knows he is in serious trouble. If he doesn't escape immediately, he is dead. He slowly backs away from her. The bomb timer must have triggered when she dug it out. If he attacks her now, the entire ship blows up. He has to keep his distance and watch her closely. Manuel looks back with a chilling smile. He wonders what kind of predatory creature she got those eyes from. Before he can make a break for it, she begins to speak. She has an offer for him. Since he is a fellow modified being, she will spare his life on one condition. If he serves her and her alone, he can live. To put it simply, she wants to put a leash on him like some exotic pet to show off. Since he relies on gene consumption, she claims she would make the perfect master. The alien holds his pink blob close like an emotional support animal. This woman is absolutely insane. Manuel extends her hand, promising they can achieve greatness together. The alien considers the offer. This legendary warrior is demanding he become her lifelong servant. They lock eyes in silence. The alien analyzes her expression. It does not seem like she is lying, and honestly, she has no reason to. He looks down at her hand and that terrifying blade. That weapon is the claw of Galarin. Even his toughest armor would slice open like paper. Plus, she definitely has plenty of other ways to put him down if he disobeys. The pink blob calls out to him. Weighing his options, the alien decides to play along for now. He walks toward her and Manuel smiles. She thinks he has agreed to be her loyal pet. The alien crawls closer as she praises him for making the right choice, while the pink blob gently pats his face. The blob is right there with him. Underneath it all, the alien is hiding a devious smile. Manuel has no idea why he is so attached to this useless little blob. She does not know his history as a legendary gamer online. For him, the reason is simple. He demands the absolute freedom to make his own choices. He grows stronger because of it. That is the only reason he cherishes his little companion in the first place. There is only one path forward. The alien steps up and bows his head submissively before Manuel. Seeing his apparent surrender, the pleased woman reaches out her hand. She pats his head like a dog. I know some of you are cringing, but honestly, most would fold the second a pretty girl demands it. But at the very last second, the alien slashes the spaceship wires. Gas sprays directly into Manuel's eyes, and he bolts for the exit, telling the blob to hang on tight. He runs tight as he pulls off a grand escape. Manuel laughs at his predictable move, then she snaps completely, sprinting right after him to take up his invitation to play tag with her. She hurls deadly fire blades at the fleeing alien, who dashes off with his pink blob companion. The entire cargo bay crumbles, yet neither player slows down. As the alien flees, he admits Manuel is absurdly strong. Back when this was just a game and he was still human, she was notorious for being the most brutal boss. Still, he is not backing down. He has crushed legendary foes before and always survived. Now, he vows to teach her a harsh lesson. He will show her that real battle is about more than just raw power. Meanwhile, Elchin crawls out from the wreckage. He is absolutely furious at Manuel's betrayal, swearing to hunt her down and make her beg for mercy. He looks at his crushed detonator. He has 10 minutes to reach the engine room before it is all over, but he refuses to let this be his end. He will not be thrown away like scrap metal. Desperate, he drags himself forward. He is Elchin Dra, superior to all others. Meanwhile, the alien keeps sprinting from Manuel. The pink blob asks if his legs hurt. Honestly, watching these two interact, you start to wonder if this little blob is the closest thing to a female lead we are getting. He says he is fine, patting his tiny partner to reassure it. But as they run, he starts planning his next move against Manuel. She possesses a terrifying advantage. She basically has extreme X-ray vision. Sneaking up on her is impossible, and hiding would only buy him a few seconds. He bets she has even more crazy sensory abilities. Her sensory powers go far beyond her eyes. With time ticking away fast, he cannot afford to delay. By now, Manuel has surely realized what his game plan is. She knows he wants that explosive device. She probably expects him to flee toward the spaceship escape pods, which means she will head straight there to cut off his path. Waiting at the hangar is her most logical play, and once he shows up, she will crush him with sheer brute force. She is relying on standard, predictable strategies. It is the same trick he used on the space pirates. Hilariously, this feels like fighting an actual player online, rather than a dumb boss with 3 pre-programmed attacks. He races through the corridors, trying to find a way to escape Manuel's brutal clutches. First, he has to take her out, then deal with that ticking detonator. As for the answers he needs, he will have to pry them out of Manuel directly. His only real issue is that his combat stats are way lower than hers. There has to be some hidden trick he can use to turn this around. Then a brilliant idea strikes him. He remembers a secret pink vial hidden back in the lab. That specific serum, a dose of psionium, is his ticket to victory. It will temporarily unlock his mature form. Right now, Manuel is using a technique called sword dance, a Galagan ability that lets her project mental blades. His current state cannot handle her psychic assault, but if he undergoes the rapid growth from the psionium, his new adult body will easily withstand her fire attacks. With his upgraded shell, he will easily endure any of her direct strikes. He can even fire a devastating long-range attack, though it will drain his energy reserves. He sprints back through the dark corridors, his mind racing with the plan. Manuel must be dealt with quickly. There is no time to worry about energy conservation while she is actively hunting him down. He drops his pink companion onto the floor. The blob asks where he is going, but he simply replies that he needs to retrieve something important. He frantically searches the lab shelves, and the moment his eyes land on the psionium, a wicked grin spreads across his face. In the game, this was just a simple buff. Now he gets to experience a real-life power-up firsthand. Before he can down the glowing serum, the pink blob desperately tries to stop him. He asks what is wrong, but his silent partner refuses to say. Why is it suddenly acting so incredibly shy? He waits for an explanation, but receives nothing. Under normal circumstances, he would patiently wait, but he is in deep trouble right now. Manuel could burst in at any second, so he must act fast. Uncapping the vial, he chugs the fluid like a cheap energy drink. Instantly, an excruciating pain rips through his body. His veins bulge and his entire flesh burns. The vial shatters as his muscles balloon to monstrous proportions. Forget years of weightlifting. This is instant alien mutation. He screams as his body tears apart and reshapes itself. It is pure agony, but that is the price of true power. He fights to stay conscious as thick pink smoke rolls over him, completely obscuring his massive frame. Once the fog clears, he looks absolutely hideous. Seriously, only a mother could love this face. He has transformed into a colossal, terrifying space cockroach, and his blob friend watches. The little creature jumps for joy, absolutely loving his rugged new look. It is basically his #1 fangirl right now. Best of all, the mutation worked flawlessly. He pulls up his status window to check his temporary enhancements. They look incredibly overpowered, even if some of the descriptions are complete gibberish. His reinforced shell has upgraded to a monstrous exoskeleton. He now sports massive horns perfect for ramming targets, adding deadly close-quarters options to his arsenal. Additionally, his left arm boasts a spiked bone launcher that hits as hard as a plasma cannon. He can even imbue the spikes with special attributes. Best of all, a psychic shield coats his heavy armor, making him highly resilient. He can definitely block Manuel's fire blades now. He checks the active timer next. In the game, the boost lasted 5 minutes. It should be the same here. Scanning the room, he can sense Manuel approaching his position rapidly. Time is running out. His plan is to wear down her stamina before confronting her directly. Activating his linking skill, he prepares for a brutal 5 minutes. If he does not end this quickly, he is dead. Meanwhile, Manuel strides calmly through the corridors. She stops abruptly, her gaze locked onto a cluster of pulsing vines. The alien vegetation squiggles and sprays thick green slime directly onto her. Rather than dodging, she just stands there, getting drenched in the disgusting fluid. Suddenly, she flashes a wild, maniacal grin under the green shower. Channeling her fire swords, she vaporizes the growth, causing a massive explosion that echoes through the deck. Sensing her approach, the pink blob trembles in absolute terror. She is close. The giant insect grabs his little companion and flees, planning his next move on the run. She bypassed his trap instantly. His best bet now is to lure her toward the nuclear reactor, where the intense environment will restrict her deadly power. That room is an incredibly sensitive spot. A tiny spark or light shockwave will trigger a massive reactor meltdown, no matter how many overpowered genes she has, they won't save her from a total blast. Meanwhile, the alien sprints through the vessel, only one sector away from the reactor room, but he suddenly halts. Blocking his path is Manuel, who casually asks where he thinks he is going. Then Manuel steps forward with her glowing blades ready to turn this beast into a kebab. Desperate to reach the reactor room, the alien throws the pink blob to buy some time. Manuel immediately leaps into action, hurling her fiery blades straight at him. The creature takes the massive impact head-on as her burning weapons clash right against his armored hide, but it barely leaves a scratch. He purposely lets her finish the strike, mapping out her exact attack trajectory. He smiles like he just found some legendary treasure. Before, he could never track fast strikes, but this newly evolved form lets him see absolutely everything. He wonders if his upgraded sensory organ is really this broken. Meanwhile, Manuel stares back at him, completely baffled. The monster stomps the floor, charging right at her like a runaway train. Manuel smirks and retaliates, digging her claws right under his chin. But he barely flinches. He grunts in pain but holds his ground. Manuel is actually impressed, noting he is way faster now. She unleashes a relentless barrage of kicks and punches. The beast swings his sharp claws to grab her, but she easily slips away. Honestly, she is just playing with him. She deflects his incoming claws with a smooth block, but before she can react, his thick tail wraps around her waist, and he launches a volley of sharp spikes right at her. Manuel's eyes go wide. She swings her blades to block the deadly projectiles. Even with his tail binding her tightly, she keeps swinging, impressed that he managed to trap her. But just as she gets cornered, a strange red mist suddenly erupts around her. Her black hair shifts to a crimson red, causing his tail to uncoil in sheer panic. Shocked by this sudden transformation, he retreats, but Manuel is too fast. She slices his tail right off. He scrambles back to escape, but she casually steps on the severed piece. Mocking him for trying to run away, she realizes he recognizes this crimson vapor, which only makes things more fun for her. The monster quickly analyzes her threat level again. Realizing she is a total nightmare, this red mist is actually a deadly predator native to jungle worlds, releasing pheromones that make prey hallucinate. To survive, the beast needs to take her down before his drug enhancement wears off. Fighting a hallucinating predator is extremely dangerous, so panicking is out of the question. He must stay cool and wait for the perfect opening to strike. He lunges forward and Manuel just grins. She wanted this. Their weapons clash with a loud ring. As she slashes, the monster suddenly sprays a strange liquid right at her face. Squinting her eyes, she swings blindly at him. Thick crimson vapor envelops her as she complains that he is starting to bore her. She swings again, forcing him to leap back and use his claw as a projectile launcher. He fires another volley of spikes, but she easily bats them away with her weapons. Watching her closely, the monster finally figures out the secret behind this crazy woman. She possesses the high-level skills of a real player, but she has one fatal drawback. She absolutely cannot use two distinct abilities at the same time. Manuel grits her teeth, growling that he is really annoying her now, so she is going to end him. The beast watches her. If he can figure out her cooldown timing, he might actually survive this crazy encounter. No matter how fast her reaction time is, there has to be a split-second gap. That brief moment is when she becomes completely normal, vulnerable, and totally defenseless. He has to change his tactics to force her to show that hidden weakness. The beast charges her, aiming to force her into a corner. Meanwhile, the pink blob begins sharing her origin. She first woke up in a dark, cold, and crushing environment. Humans called this place the deep seabed. Despite the freezing cold and crushing water pressure, the little creature actually quite enjoyed her harsh home, deep down in the dark. Her companions protected her. The other blobs were incredibly weak and lived in constant fear of predators, but everything changed when the pink blob discovered her own special power. She used this strength to shield the others, eventually becoming the leader. Yet life as the alpha was still simple and peaceful, filled with sharing food and sleeping close together. Sadly, that simple peace did not last long. Mechanical claws suddenly descended into the deep, snatching her family from their home. Hearing their desperate screams, the leader wanted nothing more than to fulfill her duty. She was determined to protect her loved ones, no matter the cost. The brave blob attacked the metal claws, successfully freeing every single companion. She believed her duty as leader was completely fulfilled, but fate had other plans for her. A larger mechanical hand snatched the exhausted blob, dragging her away. No miracle saved her. After years of unconsciousness, she finally woke up inside a liquid tank created by her captors. From inside the glass, she watched helplessly as her friends lost their lives to horrific experiments. Eventually, a hairy scientist labeled her as Number 26, the very last of her kind. She prayed every day for a savior to rescue her from these monsters, promising to give her own life in return. The sad flashback fades, and Manuel charges the monster at absolute full speed. She screams out that she is sick and tired of this annoying game of tag. The beast keeps fleeing, launching sharp spikes behind him, but Manuel easily deflects them with her trusty weapons. Desperate, the creature fires an organic grappling hook projection. To snare her, she barely dodges and slices the tentacle clean off. Acidic green fluid sprays out like water, landing on Manuel and quickly melting away her clothing. Talk about fanservice. The monster wastes no time and uses this opening to strike. Manuel blocks his heavy strike with her bare hand. He expected her to have some self-defense skills, but he never anticipated she possessed the metallic alloy skin of a Wolfram goblin. She punches him hard with her free hand, declaring that disobedient pets must be taught a lesson. This incredibly heavy punch completely stuns him for a moment. He grunts in pain but quickly recovers, snapping that one punch won't save her. He wraps his heavy tentacles around her body and lifts her high like a professional wrestler. She is incredibly heavy. That dense alloy skin acts exactly like heavy armor, making her weight skyrocket, but the beast believes this is his prime chance to win. He slams her hard against the metallic wall. Furious, Manuel hurls a barrage of colorful insults at him. She quickly prepares to activate another broken ability, and the alien realizes he is in serious trouble now. He instantly leaps back, putting some distance between them. Huge flames erupt around Manuel as he scrambles away from her. He does this to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Raising his arms, the alien shields his face, but Manuel's brutal attacks still pierce his tough skin. He just has to endure. The moment the fire fades, he leaps straight at her, but Manuel quickly dodges his assault. She starts mocking him for missing his target, but she is about to eat those words. Looking back, she finally realizes what he actually did. The alien did not miss at all. Manuel was never his true target. Behind them, a massive hole has been blown straight through the hull. Decompression screams as the rushing air tries to drag her out into the cold void of space. Manuel digs her blades into the metal, but she can barely hold on. He has his opening. She is completely defenseless now. Readying his sharp claws, the alien prepares to end this exhausting struggle that has dragged on for over 5 minutes, but Manuel spots the incoming threat. Knowing what is coming, she forces her broken body to activate another skill. Her veins bulge and she glows a deep crimson, pushing past her absolute limits even though she is near death. The alien senses the danger. He has to put her down before she becomes an even bigger headache. He fires a volley of deadly spikes from his claw, catching Manuel completely off guard. She only notices the incoming projectiles at the absolute last second, but they harmlessly bounce right off her hardened skin. Manuel grins, confident she has survived everything he could throw at her. Then, out of nowhere, the little pink blob leaps into the fray. She yells at Manuel to back off before releasing a massive electric shock. Manuel cannot even react to this sudden intervention. A violent explosion rips through the area. Manuel loses one eye as her grip finally slips from the floor, and she gets pulled toward the open breach. The terrified blob begs for help. She cannot hold onto the ship either and is about to fly out. The alien leaps forward, catching the pink blob just in time. To everyone's shock, he grabs Manuel as well. He snares Manuel with his extra appendage and barks at the blob to hold tight. He is stunned by the power the tiny creature just unleashed, but there is no time to process it. Staying here means they all get sucked into space. Dragging Manuel along, the alien quickly retreats from the ruptured chamber. That is when he notices the ship's automatic seal systems are completely dead. He quickly pulls up his status interface to check what is going on. Usually, a crew would have patched this up or sealed the sector manually by now to keep things stable. But currently, only he and a handful of space pirates remain on board, and those cowards are still hiding somewhere, leaving him completely in the dark about their next move. Walking down the dark corridor, he realizes this vessel is a total lost cause. Suddenly, the pink blob points at his arm. He looks down and notices his hardened outer shell is slowly crumbling. Even the heavy plating on his tail is starting to flake off. The temporary power-up is finally wearing off, returning him to his normal form. Fortunately, the reversion process is completely painless. His massive armor cracks as he shrinks back to his original size. He really wished that power lasted a bit longer. He looks down at the unconscious Manuel. Thanks to his temporary boost, he managed to secure something incredibly valuable. In the game Megacoers, there are about 1,000 unique genes to collect. As a high-level non-player character, Manuel possesses an incredibly rare set of abilities. The alien lifts her up by the head, knowing he will only be able to extract 3 of her genes. Once he consumes her, that is all he gets, but he does not care. As long as he secures the Claw of Galarin, even a single gene from her would be an absolute win. His jaws open wide to take a massive bite. Suddenly, his prediction gene flashes a warning of the future. If he eats her now, the self-destruct device will trigger, vaporizing the ship. That is when he remembers the bomb on board. His predator gene estimates he has barely 5 minutes left before it detonates. It feels like far more time has passed during their fight. 5 minutes is nowhere near enough time to safely disarm the explosive. Think about it, he has to abandon ship immediately. His absolute best shot at survival is reaching the escape pods. He sprints toward the hangar bay as fast as he can. Normally, the journey would take a full 5 minutes, meaning he would arrive right as the ship blows, but he has a plan. There is one shortcut to speed things up. He leaps onto a nearby plasma thruster. The pink blob is completely unfazed, simply staring at the shiny, sparkling energy in absolute wonder. He grabs the controls and cranks the thruster to maximum power. The device surges from 0 to 100% in seconds. Together, the alien and his companion prepare for a wild ride. The thruster rocket shoots down the narrow hallways at breakneck speeds. He yells at his little friend to hold on tight as they smash straight through several walls to reach the outer hull. He leaps onto the outer hull of the spaceship, immediately anchoring himself with his tail to prevent drifting into the void. Using his momentum, he swings himself forward with incredible force. Sprinting across the hull like a ninja, he keeps a firm grip. He looks ahead and spots their target station just a short distance away. Reaching out with his limbs, he grips the wall. Using his plasma cutter, he carves a brand new entry hole into the ship. Tossing the spent device aside, he prepares to dive back in. Beside him, the blob is loving the ride. He dives inside and sprints toward the escape pod bay. That is when he spots an open pod. Wondering if another crew member was trying to flee as well, he is relieved. Either way, this is perfect. He does not have to waste precious seconds unlocking another hatch. Before stepping inside the pod, he orders his little blob to grab onto anything she can carry. Meanwhile, Elchin stumbles through the corridors. He fully expected to die back there, but he survived. His senses are returning, though he is permanently blind in one eye and down one heart. While trying to extract the bomb, he nearly blew himself up. He remembers the alien and Manuel. Determined to take them down with him, he reactivates the countdown timer. Having successfully ripped the explosive device from his own chest, he refuses to let anyone escape. The countdown is set to 10 minutes, leaving them absolutely no hope of survival. By the time Elchin secures his own escape, both the alien and Manuel will be reduced to ash along with this vessel. As he navigates the silent corridors, he notices the eerie quiet. He wonders if one of them has already been defeated. Regardless of who won, they are both doomed anyway. But on his way to the pods, Elchin suddenly bumps into someone. The man panics the instant he sees Elchin. Recognizing the uniform, Elchin realizes this is Captain Young Samuel. However, the captain looks far less impressive than Manuel had previously claimed. He likely hid away out of cowardice, waiting for the fighting to stop. Now he sees his chance to flee. Trembling, the captain draws his weapon and aims it directly at Elchin. He threatens to fire, boasting about his high-powered plasma pistol. You would laugh too, a weak toy like that won't even scratch his armor. He smugly tells Samuel to check his weapon first. He mocks the captain for pointing a gun without even unlocking the safety first. Samuel looks completely clueless. Seizing the moment, Elchin slams him to the floor. Samuel crashes hard onto the metal deck as Elchin laughs. For a second, that little toy actually startled him. He towers over the captain, telling him he was absolutely right there. There is no safety lock on a plasma weapon. Samuel trembles in absolute terror as Elchin points it at him. But Elchin has zero time to waste on a useless human. Samuel begs desperately, crying that he will do anything if he is spared. Elchin coldly tells him it is already too late. He pulls the trigger, and boom, the faulty weapon backfires, vaporizing Elchin instantly. Looking at the ashes, Samuel laughs in sheer maniacal disbelief. The captain cackles like a lunatic. He boasts about his grand family bloodline, claiming he is completely untouchable, but mid-sentence, the spaceship blows sky-high, taking him with it. Meanwhile, inside the escape pod, the alien and his pink blob cling on tight. The shockwave slams the little blob hard against the metal wall, knocking it completely out cold. He checks the little guy over. Luckily, it is just a minor bump and no real harm is done. Looking through the glass window, he watches the ruined vessel shatter. This ship was his very first home in this strange new world. Now, it is time to bid farewell to the cradle of his early evolution. The fiery wreckage drifts away as the alien slips away in his cramped escape craft with the pink blob. Glancing around the tiny pod, his eyes catch a green glass bottle rolling lazily across the floor. He scoops it up and inspects the label. Someone was definitely partying in here. Annoyed by the mess, he hurls it against the bulkhead, shattering it to pieces. Then he taps the console to pull up the flight logs. The screen blinks to life, replaying the cabin security footage. The first image is a sweaty, bald fat man lounging around like he owns the entire ship. It is Captain Yusung himself. The alien actually smirks, so the coward survived. It turns out the captain was hiding in this very pod, drinking and waiting for the dust to settle before making his run. Yusung must have realized the gunfire outside had stopped, prompting him to sneak out. To see if the coast was clear, the alien wonders if the old man was praying for his troops to magically win, or if he just hoped a rescue cruiser would save him. Either way, it is not his concern. He deletes the file with a single click. With that done, he puts the navigation on standby, pulling up the default flight path. It leads straight to a world ruled by the Mega Cobb forces. He is far too smart for that. Mega Cobb bases are crawling with soldiers, a total meat grinder. He shakes his head, deciding to avoid such war zones. Scrolling through the planetary coordinates, he finds a much sweeter target, the TNC Special Trade Center. Talk about a perfect opportunity. This massive orbital colony is buzzing with wealthy merchants and powerful players. He remembers his last visit, where he hunted targets and stole their precious genetic traits. That infamous reputation earned him some hilarious nicknames. His favorite is the Cowardly Morph Nerd. He sighs, knowing his cautious playstyle is simply survival instinct. With a quick tap, he locks in the trade center as his new destination. The thrusters hum as the craft speeds forward on autopilot. 3 hours until arrival. You just know this massive trade hub is going to be an absolute goldmine for him. An endless buffet. His stomach growls at the thought. Walking over to the pink blob, he looks down at his sleepy companion. Who would have guessed this cute thing is actually a sea demon? Both share that aquatic, deep ocean aesthetic, except the blob is tiny and adorable, while actual sea demons are massive, terrifying leviathans. Neither creature is hostile. Could they belong to the exact same evolutionary tree? Sea demons possess a legendary ability known as deep sea fear, which drives anyone nearby stark raving mad. It is like a red mist hallucination, but vastly stronger. It has zero cooldown. This tier of power is practically on par with the legendary claw of Galarin. The alien reaches a hand toward the sleeping blob, his eyes flashing with hunger. If he consumes number 26, he might inherit that broken skill, but he hesitates and pulls his hand back. There is no guarantee it would work, and honestly, he has grown quite fond of the little guy. So he vows to keep the blob safe unless things get absolutely desperate. For now, they are partners, but with that decided, his massive hunger returns. He glances over at the fresh corpse lying in the corner. His jaw hinges open, sharp fangs gleaming. Finally, dinner is served. He leans down, ready to sink his teeth into the meat. But he forces himself to wait, staring at the prize like a hungry vulture circling its prey. He must be patient, but self-control has its limits. A few moments later, he snaps. Mouth watering, he rips off one of the legs like a tender chicken drumstick. He bites down hard, and his eyes widen in pure shock. This is easily the most delicious thing he has ever tasted. He mutters that eating Siu Jin feels like dining on a masterfully prepared gourmet feast. He originally thought Hyujin would taste just as good, but that was completely mediocre. The rich flavors explode in his mouth with every single bite. Nothing in the galaxy can compare to this absolute perfection. As he devours the corpse, a wave of satisfaction hits him. There are no guards, no alarms, and absolutely no one to crash his feast except for the unconscious number 26. It is the perfect, quiet dinner. Best of all, his stat screen flashes with new stolen abilities. He acquired X-ray vision, camouflage skin, and the prize he wanted most of all, the legendary Claw of Galagan. Meanwhile, on the Star Union planet of Jax-1, a cybernetic cat stands under the pouring rain. The spy cat watches a group of heavily augmented cyborgs marching toward a massive platform. They stand at attention, saluting their absolute leader, Commander Chewbacca. He is the creator and father of every cyborg on this world. Slipping away unnoticed, the metallic cat dashes off into the dark streets. It scurries past giant holographic billboards of Chewbacca, who watches his citizens with cold eyes. Leading the Star Union to glory is his sole purpose. The cat slips past a secure laboratory door. Inside, a human figure rests inside a pressurized glass tank filled with fluid. Suddenly, the chamber hisses open. Steam billows out, and a wet hand grips the edge of the tub. Gasping for air, Manuel sits up, water dripping from her skin. She is disoriented, wondering if she was successfully transferred into a backup clone. She never expected to wake up in a spare body so soon. That hideous beast actually killed her. Stepping out of the capsule, she notices this new vessel feels completely off. She immediately approaches a terminal to check her current genetic profile and mods. The system screen flashes a warning. Several core genetic strings from her original self are completely missing. To put it simply, that thieving alien stripped away her most overpowered genes. Seeing the disappointing report, Manuel slams her fist into the screen in a blind rage. Every rare gene she painstakingly gathered is gone, ruining her master plan. She screams curses at the creature for ruining her perfect, god-tier strategy. Next time they meet, she will make him pay in blood. Meanwhile, massive spaceships glide through the busy airspace of the bustling TNC Special Trade Center Port District. A man listens to music on his headphones, completely vibing out. Through the static, a voice suddenly asks if he is busy. Carpenter asks the guy on the other line what is going on. Howard explains that a Mega Cobb escape ship was spotted over in Area 7. The control tower tried to reach them, but got nothing. They got zero response. Carpenter, the guy wearing the headphones, sits up and pulls a lever. He mutters about who ran away from home this time, while Howard explains the situation. The escape ship is running on autopilot, meaning something is seriously wrong. Carpenter sighs but agrees to go check out the stupid ship himself. He hops into his sleek ride and heads toward Area 7. On his way, he wonders where this ship even came from before finally pulling up right in front of it. He looks at the escape pod, admiring how expensive and shiny it is. He connects his plug to the ship, and the doors slide open instantly. Without hesitating, Carpenter steps inside to look around. The pod is pitch black, so he immediately switches on his flashlight to cut through the dark. He spots some weird slime on the floor and touches it without thinking. It drips right off his fingers, but then even more gooey slime falls from above, and oh, this is bad. A terrifying alien is drooling right down on him, looking absolutely starved. It grabs Carpenter and takes a massive bite. Later, Carpenter's coworkers wonder where the guy is since he was coming in early. Nobody has seen him all morning. They wonder why on earth he would just head home early today. Especially since he was pulling double shifts to save up for a house. Suddenly, one of them points. They spot Carpenter walking nearby and call out his name. When he turns around, they freeze in absolute shock. A creepy, dark aura is rolling off him. Something is deeply wrong here, but they just ask him why he is leaving. They thought he was supposed to be pulling overtime. Carpenter calmly tells them he is just a bit busy. Being nosy, they ask if the chief actually gave him permission to go. He claims he asked the chief and got the green light, then immediately turns and starts walking away. They find his weird behavior suspicious but decide to let it drop. Maybe he lost some of those hard-earned savings, but check this out. As he walks off, his eyes flash a sudden, glowing red. That is not Carpenter. It is the alien mimicking his form. The creature strolls through the facility with hands in pockets, a dark, smoky mist still clinging to his body. Once alone, he sheds the disguise, revealing his hideous, true alien form. Grinning like he won the jackpot, he grabs the pink blob, thrilled with the new trick he stole from Manuel. The crazy part is he knows moves that even top-tier players have never heard of. Combining Manuel's camouflage skin with his own mimicry skill creates something entirely new. He literally grew a brand new mimicking organ. It analyzes his eaten prey and pumps out a powerful pheromone that messes with the senses of everyone around him. This dark mist tricks everyone into seeing him as a familiar face. But as awesome as this crazy power sounds, it actually comes with some pretty massive drawbacks too. It manipulates human eyes directly, but mirrors and camera lenses are totally immune. One glance at a security screen or a mirror, and his true monster face is exposed. Plus, it leaves people with a weird, uncanny valley feeling. The actual science behind this mimicry is super complicated, but the bottom line is it is a double-edged sword. Still, this beast knows exactly how to work the system. He sprouts a long, wicked blade from his hand, the Claw of Galagan, a weapon he has been dying to get. It mimics the super senses of an amorph perfectly. On top of that, his new X-ray vision will be insane once he fuses it with another ability down the road. But the biggest surprise was a secret mutation called monster tentacles. The appendages on the back of his head suddenly started growing like crazy, looking like space dragon feelers. He has no clue how this happened, but it is way better than the simple claw weapon. Honestly, he owes Manuel a huge thank you for all these broken upgrades. He chuckles at his insane luck while squishing the pink blob like a fidget toy. With 4 major powers unlocked, his next target is the super tolerance ability. Snagging that will let him finally evolve into a juvenile alien, unlocking a true superpower type. But he is so lost in thought he does not realize his grip is tightening. He is practically squeezing the life right out of the poor blob. She squeaks that he is hurting her, but instead of apologizing, he just tells her to deal with it. He has explored these hallways countless times in the game, but standing here in person is a whole different story. The TNC Special Trade Center looks grand, but it is basically dead. That is exactly why he chose it. The facility is split into 4 zones with a main hub, and the residential and entertainment areas have the weakest security systems. The entertainment zone is packed with citizens and servants, but a dangerous combat android is constantly patrolling. The residential area, on the other hand, is basically a massive slum. It is where the poorest citizens struggle to survive. If a few people vanish there, nobody blinks an eye. It is the perfect hunting ground, assuming he can dodge the security forces. A single combat cop patrols the sector occasionally, but otherwise he is free to move. He leaps across rooftops with insane agility. Still, sneaking into the main residential zone is tricky. He could use the old sewers or the transit tracks, both built during the city's construction. But since there is no water in space, those sewer pipes are probably inspected constantly. In the game, the sewers were an easy shortcut, but in real life, he has to take the dangerous underground railway. It is a risky move he is not thrilled about making. Those ancient tunnels and railway lines run deep under the city. Unfortunately, space-age plumbing means the dry sewers are always under heavy surveillance, making them a terrible option. In a video game, the sewers would be a total breeze, but in this reality, he has to stick to the active train tracks, even though he absolutely hates the idea. The tracks are the only viable path left. Navigating these dry space conduits is a massive gamble, but playing it safe is no longer an option if he wants to reach his goal. So railway it is. He turns a heavy metal wheel to pop the door open and slips inside. This underground track sits right on the edge of the busy port district. He sprints down the empty tracks, treating them like his own private highway. Meanwhile, pure chaos erupts over at the port district's wildlife monitoring office as guards try to contain a beast. It is a rampaging baby mountain crawler. A terrified officer screams that they cannot hold the monster back much longer, his voice cracked with pure exhaustion and panic. He demands to know where the backup team is and screams for a tranquilizer gun. He curses whatever idiot brought this nightmare creature into the facility. Right in the middle of this deadly crisis, an employee named Lost decides he has had enough. He calmly announces he is heading home for the day. His struggling partner thinks he has completely lost his mind. He shrieks at Lost, calling him a selfish coward for abandoning them right in the middle of an emergency. Lost does not care. He simply points out that he does not do unpaid overtime, turning his back on the madness and strolling out of the stressful port. He steps right into the entertainment district of the TNC Special Trade Center, heading straight for a high-end lounge that promises to fulfill any dark fantasy. The staff welcomes him, and he begins to scan the lineup, trying to decide on a companion for the night. Suddenly, he spots a woman who looks exactly like his arrogant coworker, a woman who apparently frequents this very establishment. A twisted, predatory grin spreads across his face as he makes his choice. He is taking her. What follows is a brutal and savage encounter. When it is over, Loss realizes the experience exceeded all his expectations, though he briefly wonders if he went a bit too far with her. He quickly brushes the guilt aside, knowing the staff will clean up the mess like they always do. That is exactly what he pays them for, after all, as an employee politely bids him goodbye. With his dark desires satisfied, Loss now wants a drink. A strong nightcap sounds perfect, so he decides to grab 2 bottles of hard liquor before making his way back through the pitch-black streets. The poorly kept roads instantly ruin his mood. He curses under his breath, wondering who smashed all the streetlights, utterly disgusted by the absolute dump he is forced to call home. As he trudges through the heavy dark, a strange, sickening scent stops him in his tracks. A sudden wave of pure, primal dread washes over his body, though he cannot explain why. Suddenly, a voice echoes from the shadows, asking where he is going. Startled, Loss replies that he is just heading home. The hidden figure remarks on the thick darkness surrounding them. The stranger then asks if Loss minds some company. Still blind to the extreme danger, Loss shrugs and tells the stranger to tag along, thanking them for the conversation. The only reply is a rhythmic, metallic clicking sound echoing against the cold pavement. Creeping close behind, the alien predator confronts the terrified cyborg. It delivers a direct, freezing question, demanding to know if the creature standing before it is indeed a machine hybrid. With a shaky, trembling voice, the cyborg admits that it is. The alien simply whispers that it sees, its predatory mind already running the numbers, but the cyborg completely misreads this calm. It thinks the alien is mocking its lifestyle in the dangerous megacorp slums. A volatile mix of rage and terror surges through its circuits, but then its optical sensors lock onto something else. It spots the alien's bizarre pet, a mutated creature known as Number 26. The cyborg instantly freezes in absolute horror, its entire body trembling as it gasps at the sight. It stammers out, asking what that hideous thing is, as terrifying files flood its memory banks. A colleague had once warned it about a high-profile psychopath who collects human heads for amusement. If it stands still, it will definitely become the next prize in that bloody gallery. Driven by pure survival instinct, it makes a desperate choice to run, pushing its mechanical legs to their absolute limits. In a blur, the cyborg bolts, vanishing into the darkness. He disappears right into the maze-like corridors of the massive ship. The alien predator is left standing there, somewhat confused by the sudden escape, though it has a guess. It looks down at its little companion, the mutant bubble amoeba known as Number 26, which is just wriggling innocently. The cyborg's heart rate had spiked the moment it saw the little pet. This makes absolutely no sense to the alien. Bubble amoebas are supposed to be adorable, and even if Number 26 is a mutant, it is still a harmless, cute little creature. It cannot grasp why anyone would run away from something so harmless. Shrugging it off as weird cyborg behavior, the alien shifts its focus to a far more practical problem. The target had confirmed its cybernetic nature. Right now, the temporary boost from the psionium is fading rapidly, forcing the predator's body to shrink back into its weak, youngling form. Its biological clock is ticking. To gather the parts needed to evolve into a juvenile, it must hunt and consume a cyborg. That runaway prey is no longer just a mystery, it is lunch. That runner is exactly what the hunter needs to grow. Meanwhile, the panicked cyborg crashes through a heavy door, finally stopping in a quiet hallway to catch its breath, safe for now. Believing it just barely dodged death, it resolves to file a formal report first thing tomorrow. The trauma is so deep that the cyborg plans to pack up and move away the second it gets paid. It wants to put maximum distance between itself and that nightmare. Elsewhere, Loss grumbles to himself as he stomps down the dark, trash-strewn streets of his district, absolutely fuming. He cannot stand his tyrannical boss. He mutters that he only agreed to the overtime because she threatened to feed him to a mountain crawler. Because of her, his entire night is ruined. He missed his chance to blow off steam at the local lounge, where he normally indulges his dark habits. His only solace is that he already reported the suspect to the authorities. Suddenly, a cold wave of paranoia hits him. What if that freak is waiting right outside his apartment door? He speeds up, his rapid footsteps echoing loudly off the metal walls. He tries to calm his racing heart, telling himself that no one would strike this deep inside the residential zone. The sheer stress has made him incredibly thirsty, but his thoughts are cut short. A series of sharp, rhythmic clicks pierce the quiet night air, a sound that is both familiar and terrifying. Before he can even turn around, an overwhelming weight slams him into the ground. The fight is brief, brutal, and completely hopeless. The final sound he hears is a faint, mocking monitor beep. It is a cruel reminder of how incredibly close he was to safety, and how absolutely no one is coming to save him. The camera shifts back to our alien predator. The hunt is a complete success. As it devours the fresh cyborg, its evolutionary system triggers an update. The checklist to reach the juvenile stage is insanely demanding. To grow, it has to feed on 60 entirely different species. Its predatory mind quickly reviews the list of potential local targets, including reptilian cold-bloods and fierce wolf-like lycanthropes. The required prey is getting smarter, now demanding high-level humanoid targets and creatures gifted with raw psychic power. But simple consumption is not enough. It also needs to secure 4 highly specialized genetic types to complete this evolutionary phase. Its racial memory reveals that this is exactly where most game players quit the grind. The predator coldly admits that quitting might actually be the smartest option, especially since the subadult evolution requirements get even more absurd. Yet, it remains entirely unfazed. Its cold, calculating mind is already plotting a raid on the Special Trade Center. That massive hub is overflowing with countless alien races, making it the perfect buffet for its genetic feast. With such a target-rich playground, gathering 60 distinct species should be an absolute breeze. The space monster locks onto its dark goal, completely focused on the hunt. Its path of evolution lies ahead, paved with the bones of its helpless prey.